Cassy Lensing is a tattooed, dyed-haired former wild child. She's also a devoted mother and psych nurse practitioner. In this episode, Cassy talks about how getting pregnant at 19 completely changed the course of her life for the better. She shares her journey from life in small-town Iowa working at her dad's gas station to becoming a successful nurse practitioner focusing on treating the person instead of just the mental illness. Cassy explains why the people usually considered society's lost are the most fulfilling people to treat and how having her own practice has allowed her to most effectively help people in her own style and in a less clinical setting. Cassy is also at the forefront of treatment. She explains the process of a new treatment that uses extremely controlled ketamine administration to help folks suffering from chronic treatment-resistant depression or acute suicidality that are not responsive to other medications and treatments. Cassy also takes the time to delve into how grief can be processed in a healthy and personal way. This episode is extremely informative, personal, and fun. This is Those Who Do, Psych Nurse Practitioner with Cassy Lensing.
This thing needs to get the fuck out of my house before it's alive again.
Maybe stop the cocaine.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't even say that usually.
Yeah, I would just put it right in front of your mouth. You'll get used to put it right in front of your mouth. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it.
Like here. This is close enough.
Come just a little closer. And that'll pivot out towards you. So
this does.
Yeah, you can move it however it's comfortable. Yeah.
This close. Close. That's
yeah.
close.
And that's actually there. And just normal talking volume. And if I need to adjust it, I will. And I'm trying something new, so I really hope it works. But we'll see. It's like every single time I do this, I do something different.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
You need to experiment.
Yeah.
Do something really weird with me because that would be like fitting, you know?
Well, you would think that after 15 years of doing this, I would have some kind of an idea of...
I doubt it.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know what I'm doing with things I do every day, so many things.
That seems to be me even more so now than before. So how many of these have you listened to?
I listened
put you on the spot.
To the yoga one.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Joe. I was listening to the yoga one. Did she come before Joe and Jesse?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, you should really do Joe and Jesse. And then I was like, oh, shit. So then I listened to that one.
And that one was a lot of fun because it went to a lot of really cool places.
And I just love them.
Yeah.
I love listening to them talk. Yeah. So I've listened to those two. And I started another. Who was your first one?
That would have been Joe Stillman that did Roach Shrek.
Okay, so I started that one, but I haven't finished it. I'm like halfway through.
Yeah, that one was super inspirational for me because I was editing his first. And, he kind of gets into like the creative process and like what you shouldn't do. And no shit, I was right in the middle of doing something I shouldn't do.
Oopsie.
And it just like, it made me reset. And so I texted him and I was like, hey man, like,
thank you. Thanks
for this because I'm editing your episode and you just totally like reset my OODA loop.
I love that.
It was awesome. It was really cool. So
I didn't get very far into that one yet. I don't know. I started it when I was doing laundry one day and lost my total train of thought.
It's definitely a different like rhythm and vibe than the rest of them.
Yes.
Just because he's such a sweet human being. I actually just talked to him the other day because I'm going out to LA March 22nd for Tony's Celebration of Life. So
you did say that.
Which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But yeah. So first of all, thank you so much. This is I think you're officially the first local person that I've had.
I am?
Yeah.
Okay, no big deal.
Yeah, officially the first
celebrity.
First person to come in here that's never been in here before. So
nice.
Hopefully it's not too creepy and basement.
No, I love it.
Like.
It's definitely basement-y, but in a good way.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, technically those are full-size windows, but if I open them up, it screws everything up in here. So
yeah, technically I have windows. They're just blacked out and covered, you know. Mm-hmm.
That's creepier.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I'm mostly just a murder room, if anything.
Well, I've had a good life. So.
Yeah, I've had a good run.
I did get to meet the dogs first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can take that little weird-eyed one with you if you want.
No.
He's just gross.
No. I don't do small dogs. I was like, you're here too. You're kind of cute.
Yeah, I generally don't either, but we had a small dog before, and Jenny was absolutely in love with him. And then when he died, it was just like, I want another small dog. And I was like, but we have this big one.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I want another small dog. And I'm like,
you're a small dog person or a big dog person?
I guess.
She's the small dog person.
I guess, which is weird because like he is so strange. Like he's not a typical small dog. Like he'll get on your lap for about 4 minutes and then he'll just kind of wander off. Like, he's so weird.
Does Hank live in your lap, though, because he's a giant dog?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, he goes in fits and starts, though. Like, because he gets warm really easy. So, like, he'll come up and just flump on you and, like, take up the whole couch and your whole life. And then after about 10 minutes, he's like, yeah, that's enough. And then he'll go lay down on the pergo where it's cooler, go up in the bathroom on the tile. Like, he doesn't sleep in bed with us because he just gets too warm. So
the perfect blend of dog.
Yeah, it really is.
Maybe I need to stop getting, like, naked, hairless dogs, short hair dogs, because then they never get hot. They just want to live in your skin.
Yeah, and that's not a thing, luckily. He wants to be everywhere I am. Like, you saw, like... he was down here.
He could be down here right now. He could be sitting in my lap.
Well, he could be, except for he pants so loud.
That would sound
like
really bad.
Anybody listening is like,
oh, he just needs to get his breathing under control.
like in through the nose, out through the mouth, asshole. Like, get it right. Get it right.
Oh, poor buddy.
Yeah. So he.
Okay, fine. He can't be here.
When he gets up on the bed in the middle of the night, like, because he'll come like check on us, make sure we're still there, get up in the bed, and the whole bed's like. Just from the panting, because he's so chesty. Like, every part of his being comes from his chest, like his bark, his breathing, and it's like, man, stop shaking the bed. The neighbors are looking through the windows. They're really going to wonder what's going on in here.
Just the dog. Just the dog.
Nothing exciting. Just the dog.
Yeah, he's sweet. I'll take him home anytime.
I might let you, especially when it comes time to buy more food. Because it's not.
I have plenty of critters he could eat in the backyard. It'll be fine.
Luckily, he finally got over that. He was killing rabbits for a long time, like bunnies.
Don't let him come to my house then.
Lots of them?
He'll reopen possums. Kane brought a possum in my house the other day.
Brought it in the house?
Brought it, like, I was on the couch, let him in, ploop.
Dead?
Possum. I don't know. I was like, they play dead. So I was like, this thing needs to get the fuck out of my house before it's alive again.
So would you use a shovel, or what'd you do?
I just grabbed it with a towel. Yeah. It was a whole ordeal. I was like waiting for it to, he plopped it and I'm like, that's a possum.
Did it look like it was injured?
It looked fine.
Oh,
I think,
it was probably
but then
still alive.
It was still there the next day. So I think it was
it's probably dead. Yeah, they don't play that dead.
No, but I was like, you're about to wake up from your dead and be gone in my house. And then I have 3 cats and a dog that are going to be chasing you. It was very bad.
And they are like one of the universe's biggest mistakes.
I love possums.
Oh God, they're all jacked up and
no,
back
I
like
love them.
Like a Cutlass Supreme with air shocks.
They're the cutest.
Oh,
I feed one. He comes up on my porch steps and I feed him every day. His name's Petey.
Petey. Why Petey?
I don't know. My daughter named him.
Because Jay was taken.
It just the possum. It has to start with a P.
But it starts with an O.
No.
It does.
No.
Possum starts with an
Possum.
O. Possum.
No, we don't call them opossums in my house. And my dog murdered. So yeah, he could come eat some possums, some turkey.
I mean, it's possible the possum was already dead.
Sure.
We'll
go with that.
Was it daytime?
No.
Oh God, yeah.
It was small. I think it was a baby.
He killed that possum.
Like this big.
Oh no.
It was tiny. It fit in his mouth, and I didn't know he had it in his mouth when he came in until he plopped it.
Is it plop?
Yeah. It was so bad.
Was it all like soaking wet?
No, it was like, it didn't like look hurt. So it was like, just looked like a possum in the middle of my living room. It's bad.
I think Hank carried a bunny to death. Like, I was chasing him around the yard and just its head was poking out of his mouth and its eyes are looking around like what's happening?
Just put me down.
I'm not supposed to fly. And Hank was like 6 or 7 months old at the time. So he was not listening at all. Like, there was no discipline at all.
No.
And then I finally got him to drop it and it didn't move. And then it kind of moved, and then I went back out later. It was pouring rain at the time. I go back out later.
Of course it was.
It's very damp and just still in the same spot. I'm like, oh, damn it.
I only knew because the tail was hanging out.
Oh.
Yeah.
So at first were you like, is that a rat?
Yeah. I just freaked out. As soon as I saw the tail, I was like, drop it. Screaming, and he did immediately because he's like, oh, you don't yell ever. What's happening right now?
Oh, so gross.
I'm scared.
Oh, I don't know that I would have wanted him to drop it. Like, go outside. Now drop it.
Yeah, I just panicked. I was just like, get that thing out of your mouth. And then I'm like, why? Why did I say that? Now I have to touch it.
Could you imagine if it would have been alive and it hit the ground and just took off running?
No. This is literally, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is about to be loose in my house. Get a towel immediately. This needs to leave.
My dad had a squirrel in his house once. It came through the the sewer vent pipe and out the toilet.
Oh, no.
And the only reason he knew that was because he went into the bathroom and there was dirt in the toilet. So it had come somehow
That
worked
is like
its way.
the most disturbing thing I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't want to picture anything coming out of the toilet.
Yeah.
What else? What other critters?
I mean,
nope. I'm going to delete that.
Clowns.
Sorry. Thank you.
Clowns, probably.
Stop. I'm deleting this whole sentence from my brain.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing I haven't learned how to do yet?
Yeah.
If I could do that.
It's called repression, and it's not healthy.
Oh, that's not deleting. That's just filing away.
Well, it's deleting for the moment.
It's putting it in a different cabinet.
Locking the key, throwing it away.
Those locks aren't very sturdy,
Saving it for therapy.
Yes, keeping you in business.
Yeah.
Yes, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So the reason I asked earlier, like how much of this you'd listen to is so that you kind of see how much of the format you know. So you obviously know how we always start out. Like we always start out with, we want to learn about you before we get into what it is that you do. And of course that starts with little Cassy, right?
Just a little baby.
Little Cassy. And now I've known you for a very long time. So this question is going to sound stupid.
Okay, fair enough.
So is it on the birth certificate, just Cassy? Mm-hmm. No Cassandra?
No Cassandra.
So just Cassy.
I frequently reference myself as Cassandra when I'm doing stupid shit. So that is a very fair question because I think it's confusing for people.
Sure.
Because you've probably heard me say Cassandra before, but no, it's just Cassy.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's my alter ego that I did myself.
So we may talk about Cassandra later.
Yeah,
then,
she's real and alive.
But for right now, we will talk about little Cassy. So I always start around the age of 4 or 5 because as all 4 people that have listened to the show will know, one of my most formative memories, and clearly you can tell by looking around this room, was 1983. I'm 4 years old. Return of the Jedi comes out. It's the first movie I see in the theater. So that's like my anchor point for formative memories. So I selfishly think that everyone else must have their anchor point be 4 or 5 years old, and that's where memories start. I know that that's not scientific or real, but I like to think it is.
I love that.
And I like to start from somewhere because I'm like, okay, do you remember anything before 3? Do you remember 2? Do you remember anything when you're 3.5? Yeah. Like this way, it's just like, okay, so 4 to 5 years old, where are you? Where do you live?
That's so long ago. I'm so surprised you remember something from that young. Like that's your anchor. I'm sitting here trying to think like, what's my earliest? 4 to 5 was kindergarten, right? Yeah. So I would have been living in Mason City. Yes. We moved a lot as a kiddo. So we were still in Mason City then. That's about all I remember from that time.
Really? See, and for me, like I link a lot of my memories to movies because I was a fat, lonely little kid. So like I had like movies are really big. So 83 was Return of the Jedi. 84, 85 was Ghostbusters. You know, like it's like I can run those memories together and like, kind of know like. And then after Ghostbusters, it was Land Before Time. Like technically, the first movie I ever saw in the theater was Cheech and Chong.
I love that.
At a drive-in theater.
I couldn't tell you the first movie I saw to save my life.
I vaguely remember that. I remember there being a blanket laid out on the ground next to the car, and like eventually I went to sleep.
That is awesome.
But yeah, so the first real movie beginning to end that I saw was Jedi. So 4 to 5, you're living in Mason City. You said you moved around a lot. Were your folks together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. You link like age to movies, but I feel like I link them in my head to where we were living.
Oh, sure.
Because we moved so much. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, we were only there for not much of my childhood. We moved when I was in 2nd grade to Charles City.
To the Chuck.
Floyd, technically, but nobody's going to know where that is. So Charles City is the landmark.
Well, Floyd, there was a famous Iowa murder that happened in Floyd, right? Isn't that where the little girl was killed?
Oh, yeah, Evelyn. Yeah. I was like the same age as her when that was going on. It was super creepy.
You're a lot younger than me.
I am. I'm just a little baby.
Just a little baby.
Yeah, I remember that weekend when they were like, my parents were part of the search party for that because my dad owned a gas station, and so he's like a big part of the community.
Right.
And we were like having our first garage sale. I remember this like vividly because I was like, nobody's going to come to our garage sale. Our whole town is out looking for a missing child. We should probably cancel.
Wasn't she she was young, 6 or 7?
Yeah. Oh, I think was she that young? Maybe I wasn't the same age as her. She was I thought she was 8 or 9, but.
I just remember she was adorable and very, very tiny.
Yeah. It was sad. It was very sad. It was just, you could feel the heaviness in the whole town for weeks.
And then it ended up being her shithead stepdad or something. Was it her stepdad or real dad? Stepdad, I think. And then he confessed in prison.
Yeah, there was drugs involved. The
and
running
child
theory.
porn.
Yeah. The running theory was always trafficking because of an old drug debt is what everybody in town. But small towns. Who knows?
Yeah, they always want things to be much more sexy and exciting than they actually are too.
Yes.
It's usually the most simple answer.
Yeah.
Is.
But nobody wants that.
No, they don't. I mean, when a guy goes to prison for 99 years because he has child porn on his computer, he probably killed her.
What?
Yeah. He just call it a hunch.
Yeah, so that's my fun hometown.
Yeah, it's sunshine and rainbows in the town of Floyd.
Oh, the motto was where the sun shines on kids.
No.
Yeah, for real.
That's dark.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is a sweet little town. Minus that.
Yeah.
I had a good childhood there.
Minus the child murder. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my fault for bringing it up. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you for that. I already am from Charles City, was the meth capital at one point. Then you got to bring up the child murder in Floyd. Thank you.
Look, they passed it on to Olwine.
These are my roots.
Olwine has the meth capital.
Yeah, they go back and forth. I don't remember a lot who has it last.
I like how you describe it like a high school rivalry. Hey, they got the pig statue now.
I'm proud of our award.
They got the bronze baggie now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
those are my roots.
Oh, they're so.
Does this explain
healthy.
A little bit?
We're already almost skipping ahead to why things are the way they are.
Yeah, we're in second grade. There's just more to come.
Yeah. So second grade, you're in Floyd. Now you said you moved around a lot.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay in Floyd?
So, yeah, second grade is kind of where I feel my childhood I remember the most because that's when we moved to Floyd so my parents could open a gas station. They just broke ground in the middle of a cornfield. Oh. And then that was my whole childhood. They started it and opened it and grew the business. And it was just a gas station. Then it was a restaurant and a liquor store. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. So not a chain then, just
no.
Wow.
No, just my dad's gas station.
Wow.
Rick's Wagon Wheel. It was 218 Fuel Express was the gas station, and then the restaurant was Rick's Wagon Wheel.
Wow.
We were all featured on the menu. I don't know if we're still on there because he's retired now, but what was mine? Cassy's Catfish and my sister. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
It's my favorite, though. I think my brother was Walleye and my sister was Chip Beef on Toast, I want to say. Yeah.
I hate Chip Beef on Toast so much.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
Jenny says the same thing. That's
so
that's a staple. When they go camping or
it's a poverty meal.
But it's it's the texture. So her mom will always make.
It's a weird texture.
Her mom will always make sausage gravy for me instead, and then I'll eat that instead of the Chip Beef on Toast because it's
too thick or
no, it's more it's snot and vomit. It's just I don't like it. I also don't like beer cheese soup.
Because of the same?
No, because it tastes like vomit to me. It's something about the beer and the cheese together. Yeah. It tastes like bile, and I just can't do it.
I had a very unfortunate experience with beer cheese soup when I was pregnant, and it ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Morning sickness. It was bad.
That was me and hot dogs when I was 5.
Oh.
Luckily, I'm back.
I love hot dogs.
Yeah, they got me back.
Yeah, that's good.
They got me back, but it took a long time. My mom would always, if I would ask what we were having for supper, because my mom was cruel, she would be like, peas and hot dogs, because she knew I hated peas. I love peas now, but back then, the thought of a hot dog made me in my mouth, and then peas were, I don't like those, they're gross. But yeah.
Least favorite meal.
Oh, yeah. So she, every time, peas and hot dogs.
Moms. Oh, yeah. I totally squirreled off. So you asked where if I moved. Yeah.
We're going to do that.
That's a thing. Especially for me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm aware. That's why I told you. I was like, don't worry. I'll keep you safe and I'll keep you on task.
Yay.
Yeah.
What?
We can always circle back.
I don't know. If keeping me on task might be a hard thing to do, but good luck.
Well, it's the nice thing, the wonders of editing.
Yay.
We can always come back.
Yeah. If I say any real stupid shit, I'm going to need you to just.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah. That's the great thing about audio.
Yeah.
No one will even know.
Yay.
Video is much harder because you can tell if there's an edit.
That's true.
With audio.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. Audio. Yeah.
Well, good. you know.
Yeah.
You'll know. As soon as I say it, I'll be like, fuck.
I'll be like, all right, what's the timestamp? All right,
Let
we
me
are
just...
at 30:45. Okay, that's going to get people fired. That might cause an arrest.
I like my freedom.
A murder.
Yeah.
That's a planned murder coming up. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we had on my old podcast, we would always have a thing where if my co-host or I would accidentally say where we worked, we'd replace it. And this was even before I had my dog. We'd replace it with one of us just going, Hank.
It's even better now with your dog.
Oh really my God,
that's
coincidentally,
awesome.
That's what his name ended up being. But yeah, no, so it happens. It happens, and it's very easy to fix. So
that's good because I stay a lot of the stupid shit.
Well, and you'll have a solid week probably where I'll be editing that you'll still have a chance before it
reflect
drops.
Back on like, maybe that story's not a good one.
Yeah, the thing about the orgy, that's gotta go. That's gotta go.
Yeah.
We can't have that in there anymore.
I like my practice and my license, so you know,
for sure,
and my freedom. All of those things feel like they need to be a priority.
And just in case I forget, which I don't think I will, but I am so proud of you.
Stop! Don't make me cry.
Having doing your own practice and knowing you for as long as I have and how much you hate working for other people.
Dude.
It is.
Why did I wait this long?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
I look at you and I'm like, God, I wish I had a skill that I could gamble on.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's terrifying and so much work. Well,
but I mean,
it's pretty cool.
Luckily you have a pool of clients and I mean, your space is fucking amazing.
I love it so
it
much.
Is so nice. If I was ever going to have an office for anything, I would love something similar to that.
It's so cool.
So industrial and cool and then you get inside the actual space and it's so cozy.
I know. And you would not think it,
No,
right?
no.
Literally we almost didn't even look at that office. I'm so glad we did.
Well, and for real, I want Blake to paint stuff for me.
Yeah, he's good.
It is really, really good.
We formed his little LLC the other day, so he's official. So hire him.
Well, good.
This is my little plug.
Because then you can do mine. Because I don't know how to do it.
Perfect. Yeah. It's so easy.
I mean, I call this an LLC, but
it's not seriously really so easy. We did it one night together, within an hour.
And then was it $25 or something? You got to pay a
50, 100. I just use LegalZoom, so it's so easy. I think it's 100.
Do they recommend that you name it something different than the thing you're doing? Because when somebody's making a movie, for example, they'll call it like the new Ghostbusters movie. It was called Ghostbusters Firehouse. It was a working title, and then they'll actually do it under a production company that's not their production company. So the idea behind it is, if something goes wrong, say a crew member dies, they're only suing that little production company instead of Sony Pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I guess because I know for my industry they recommend you kind of have an LLC through and without your personal info so that you can't get personally sued.
Right. They
so
can't come after your assets, your personal assets and stuff.
But they still could. I mean, if it got to that point.
Well, I mean, it's America. They can sue you for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It's super easy though.
I was really hoping you had done all the research and would have the answers.
I did a year ago when I was really deep in the thick of forming mine, but that was way gone out the window. I did mine and I was like, okay, I never have to think about this again. And then now I do.
Squirrel.
Yeah. It's okay, I'm going to focus really hard on this. Now it's gone. Okay, good. Shouldn't you know how to do this? No, that was a year ago.
I knew how to do this.
Right.
Yes, that is no longer a skill that I need, and there is only a finite amount of room up here.
And yes,
and
yes.
You'll find as you get older, it gets even worse.
That's so bad. Don't tell me that.
You will learn a new thing, and it will push something else right the fuck out of your head.
That's not good.
It sucks.
I already only have so much brain space. Don't tell me that.
Agreed. I'm the same way, and I have to do stuff like this. I have to continually learn new processes, and I'm like, oh god, there went how to tie my shoes.
It's worth it. It's a good trade-off.
Velcro tennies going forward. Crew shoes.
I'm going to commit you so fast if you ever show up with Velcro tennis shoes.
Oh, please don't let that be the thing.
It only takes 2 signatures, and I'm one.
I'm painfully aware.
I'm sure I could find a second.
Oh, God.
And I'm not even going to have to explain anymore. He is wearing Velcro tennis shoes.
They're just going to be would you like to see a picture of him? And they're going to be oh, this should have happened a long time ago. 48 hours. No. This is going to be the 5-day guy.
Yeah, this is a longer one.
Yeah, we're setting a hearing.
And then an extension.
Yeah. Hey, remember how it's inpatient, outpatient, or no patient? It's definitely not no patient.
Yeah. So sorry.
It's not fair. My brain chemicals aren't fair. Oh, okay. No.
Zoning back.
So you mentioned siblings, brother and a sister?
Yes.
Where do you fall?
I'm the middle baby, and we're all 5 years apart. Makes sense.
Of course you are.
Right? It tracks.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Give me attention!
That's not me. We're the forgotten, passed over children.
Right. And then you are screaming, give me attention!
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I'll just get one tattoo. Just one.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Now it's a yearly birthday tradition.
Yep.
Yeah.
So middle child, older sister, younger brother?
Younger sister, older brother.
I had a 50-50 shot.
Yeah,
I really did. Yeah.
You didn't get it, though.
No, I didn't.
Brother is technically my half sibling, but not really because we've been together our whole lives. So he has a different dad. And we're all 5 years apart. So she's 5 years younger. My brother's 5 years older. I'm just in the middle.
So your folks, this was obviously their second relationship?
Yes. Well,
At least.
my mom had my brother when she was young, 16.
Okay.
That's like a weird pattern in my family. My grandma had my mom young. My mom had my brother young. I at least made it out of high school. So, and my sister out here breaking generational curses. She has no kids and she's 25. So I was 19. I made it out of high school. Everybody else was 16, 15.
Oh, shit.
Just each generation gets a little bit further.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Does your brother have kids?
Yes, he has 2 sons and my niece.
Did he do it right or did he do it?
No.
No?
He was younger than me.
Oh,
he was 18. But that's what I mean. Every generation, we just was he 18? He was somewhere. He was 18 or 19. We might have been around the same age.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's not a lot to do in Floyd.
No.
Were you you wouldn't have been in Floyd then though, right?
Yeah.
So once you got to Floyd, that's where you guys ended up.
Well, we moved around in between Floyd. So we lived in one house in Floyd. My parents like to flip houses and renovate them and resell. So we, in Mason City, we lived in 3 houses. In Floyd, we lived in 1. Then we moved to Rudd, which is another little podunk town over there.
I don't even know if you can call Rudd a town.
Oh, I love it. That was my favorite one that we lived in, for sure. But yeah, it was it's a pass-through.
You and your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. There was a bar there, though.
Of course there was. There's probably a church, too, wasn't there?
Oh, maybe. I didn't go, but maybe.
Usually a bar and a church in every small town in Iowa. Yeah. And then 3 Casey's.
Yeah. There was no Casey's.
No?
That's how small it was.
Oh, my God.
We did have a little other gas station. I don't remember the name of it, but no Casey's.
Dials on the pumps, probably.
Yeah. So, we lived in Rudd. Then we lived in Nashua for a little while at the apple orchard, actually. My dad bought that, and we lived there. And then back to Floyd.
Are your folks still together?
No, they split up when I was 15. Yeah, high school.
Was it your fault?
Obviously. You know me. Clearly. I was causing a lot of stress.
I've always wanted to ask somebody that because that's the stereotype is the kids are always it's my fault. I was I'm just gonna ask somebody sometime.
It was really my brother's fault, but you know.
Well, yeah, because grandkid and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he's the older one. He's the first kid, so
and boys. I will say that's all bullshit because my boys were so much easier than these 2 monsters that are living upstairs now.
I feel like girls have a different type of hard. I mean, I only have one girl, but my nephew, I've been in his whole life, and I'm just girls are just a different breed of hard.
Boys are dopey.
Yeah.
Girls are scary.
Emotional and scary.
Mean.
And smart.
I had a physical yesterday for the first time in probably a couple years because I had to switch.
Self-care.
I had to switch doctors because Cutler moved to Tipton.
You found somebody new?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So luckily it was a block from my house. It's awesome.
Nice.
But I went and they're like, "Do you feel safe at home?" Because that's their new question that they ask everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, first of all, what about me would make you believe that I would feel unsafe anywhere? I hate everybody equally.
But they don't know you.
No, they don't know. They don't. So I was like, yes, mostly. And the nurse is like,
no, that's the wrong answer.
No. Hold on. I go, I'm terrified of my 7-year-old.
No. And if that nurse has kids, she was like, yeah.
They enjoyed that.
Relatable.
They enjoyed that. It was a fun moment in their day. And I'm like, no, seriously. help.
Yeah, please.
That's scary.
SOS.
It's scary there. What you saw of her up there, that's not her.
I figured.
She was putting on a show.
That wasn't either of them.
No, well, it might have been that older one.
I mean, it felt even performing for her. I was like, girl, what are you doing? We know each other already.
Well, she likes to be the host.
That's fair.
You know, and that's kind of, I think, what she was trying to do. Yeah. But that was fun. She's so funny.
Yeah, she is.
But the little one is mean. She's mean. She's mean. She's bossy.
You need both. You need balance.
No, I want 2 good kids. That would be fine.
You need both.
I guess I already have my 2 good kids, but they moved out. Successful, courteous, polite, helpful.
Chalking this up to daddy issues later. Okay, got it.
Probably. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. It's going to be a disaster. Now I'm the one getting off task.
I do that too.
Out loud.
I do that too. I have this effect on people.
Yeah.
You know.
It's contagious.
It happens. Happens a lot. There's a reason I have 3 clocks in my office, because I need to be able to know what time it is no matter where I'm looking, because we'll just go off on tangents.
You're going to have to hang one on the fire escape for when you're staring out the window.
That's a good idea. I have one right above the fire escape. I need one on the other side of the office, because when people are on the one couch, I don't have any idea what time it is. And I'll be like, I'm so sorry. I have to look at my watch.
Yeah, and this has been a 2.5-hour session.
Yeah.
I hate to do this, but I got to charge you extra. I mean, it's your responsibility to watch the clock too.
Yeah. You should have cut me off. Hello.
Part of what we're doing here is getting it to the point where you can take responsibility for your choices. And clearly you are not doing that. So let this be a lesson to you.
We're both bad at boundaries. Got it. It's really bad when I have like a patient I've been seeing for a really long time. I know super well, and I don't have a full day, because we'll just talk for hours. It's bad. Or
like, for example, you have a person who you've known super well whose daughter comes to see you, and we start talking about everything else.
I purposefully block an extra half an hour after, because I just know myself.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
The first few times I did it, and I was like, that's not a good plan for you.
It's really not. I mean, the funny thing is, like, when we first met, that was almost immediate. Like, work buddies, like, right away. Like, it was.
We had our moments, right?
Yeah.
Or very early on. Yeah. But
Yeah, that was, but see, that was before I dealt with my issues.
Fair.
That was, my conflict resolution skills were not fantastic.
They weren't quite there.
No.
But they are now, and they grew fast.
Some people would argue that it wasn't fast.
Well, in my circumstances.
Well, that's just because, like, there are large blocks of time where you were somewhere else.
That's fair.
You were basically time traveling.
You're right. You got me.
Yeah, but that's like, so we have a habit of getting off task and chatting, and which is fun. Like, I like that we still are able to do that, because so I just fuck my kid up on purpose. So
listen, there was other ways.
Yeah,
you could have just came yourself.
Yeah. I suppose. That would be weird, though, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't agree.
I've
had a few people ask me, and I'm just like, there's like a little bit. I get it, because I want to see somebody I know too, but there's a conflict.
Well, and it just fucks up boundaries, because then, like, you feel like, well. I'm having a bad day, I'll just text her. No.
Or even, like, if we're together socially and it's like, you just know that I know things.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so then it's...
Well, that wouldn't bother me, because you know all the things anyway.
That's true. And that's how I feel, too. Like, but yeah, it's a weird dynamic that I've had a few people ask me, and I'm just like, I don't want to, like, jeopardize our friendship.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like, and I think that's just for people who are somewhat sane. Like, that's just kind of like somewhat.
Are they in the room with us right now?
Sane adjacent.
Okay. I'll accept that.
Right, okay.
Yes,
if it's the Venn diagram of sane, they really they're more tangents than overlap.
Okay, I'll accept that. Yeah.
Okay. That is just kind of like, that's probably just not a good idea.
Yeah.
I will say, though, it's funny, because I've been seeing my guy for 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
And
That's awesome.
The other day he texted me, and I'm like,
that feel weird?
A little bit. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm cool with it, because, like, what I like is that he was comfortable enough knowing I'm not going to use that number.
Right.
I did tell him, I go, hey, I hope you enjoy all of your robocalls from political organizations now, because I use your number to sign up for a bunch of mailing lists.
You mofo.
But it was kind of because he jokingly, I had a really rough time, obviously, and we'll talk about a little bit of it later, but I had 2 deaths, like, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. So as I was leaving a session, he's like, I feel like I want to give you a hug. Is that weird? And I'm like, no, man, you're the second longest relationship I've ever had. It would be weird if you didn't want to give me a hug,
right.
I think. Like, you're the only other person in charge of my emotional well-being besides me.
Ooh, no pressure, though.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
yikes.
That you get paid for. Right, fucking sack up.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
So that would be, it would be so weird.
Yeah, it's like, and I always feel bad when that conversation happens because it's like, I get why you want to see somebody you know, because you're like, there's comfort, you know?
Yeah.
But it's always just like, oh, sorry.
But I also feel like if they know you, it would be very easy for you to just be like, that is a terrible idea.
Yeah, and that's what I do. I'm just like, hey, I love you. And that's the problem.
Yep,
that's the problem.
Bad idea. It's a bad idea for so many reasons.
But here's some good people I know that you will like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That
100%.
are not me.
Yeah.
And I trust them.
And you're very approachable too, which is probably perfect for what you do. So I could see people wanting to be like, like, well, this is just way easier because it is scary to go
it's way scary.
and try to find a new provider or a new, it's like, it's one of the most stressful things in the world. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least you're not like looking at their buttholes or nothing. Like,
well,
well then. I
just
guess,
kidding. That's out of my scope.
I mean, I guess technically you were a medical nurse before you're...
I'm still a nurse. Gotta have active license.
You're like, hey, by the way, as long as you're here.
I mean, health maintenance.
Yeah,
it's important.
Because
I need
to
make
make
sure.
Health. I need to make sure you're physically healthy. but mental health is physical health. Yeah, I know. But also show me your butthole.
I'm past those days.
Thank God.
Maybe in some past careers.
Well, I also found out at my physical that those things are not necessary anymore.
No, there's other ways.
I made the doctor high five me.
Did they agree that that's not the way anymore?
Yeah.
The new doctor?
Yeah. Like for several things, like colonoscopies are unnecessary.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They send a box to your house.
Oh.
You do some things at home and you send it back in.
That sounds way more fun.
And then if it happens to come back weird, then you have the colonoscopy.
That makes sense.
So the getting put under, the whole invasive procedure, the unnecessary anesthesia, you don't have to do that unless it comes back weird.
That is awesome.
They argue that the colonoscopy is beneficial in that if there is something, they can just fix it right away while they're in there. But I'm like, nah. And then
not worth it.
There's another exam that only men have to have. Because women don't have a prostate that they don't do anymore either. And I was like, that's the one that got the high five. I was like, so you're telling me this has been not a thing for a long time?
Do you need to talk about it?
Yeah. I was like, dude. He's like, yeah, we don't do that unless there's symptoms. He's like, and usually you got to be way older. And I'm like, what the shit was going on before?
That's one to file away in the memory box. Yeah. Lock the key.
Just go ahead and hang your pants up there next to mine. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's called doctors that are not staying up to date with medicine.
Right, and that's it. And that's what I told this guy because he's a resident. And I was like, I was kind of hoping to find a younger doctor, someone that was a little more at the forefront of the, like, what a wonderful time to be alive.
It's fair.
Yeah, it's a lot less invasive time to be alive. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's super happy to hear about that. But I found it very relieving. Like, I'm no shit. My physical took 15 minutes and could have been done over the phone.
Oh, that's amazing.
He could have been like, push on your tummy. Does that hurt? No. All right, you're fine.
And how long have you been putting it off because you didn't want to deal with that?
Because I didn't want to deal with that, probably about 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other was just scheduling. Like, because I mean, my old doctor I'd had for like 15 years. Yeah. Like, I'd known him for a long time.
Like, he moved? He's gone?
Yeah. So he had his practice. Yeah. And when COVID hit, the price of everything went up and the insurance companies weren't reimbursing adequately. So he was like, I can go join this other practice where I don't have to administrate. I just have to practice medicine and I'm not responsible for all that stuff. And I can still be a doctor. So that's what he went and did.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, no warning other than a letter.
Oh,
yeah, so that kind of sucked.
Especially when you haven't seen him for a long time.
Well, and I think had I been seeing him as regularly as I was supposed to be, I might have caught wind.
That's fair.
Yeah, but since I didn't, and I had been doing really well. I had been going every year, and then I basically skipped a year, and it fucked me all up. So, but I was running out of meds, so I was like, I need to go do this.
Got to do this
because there's one med that I'm on. If I miss a day, I get so dizzy that it's like uncomfortable. Like, I had to leave work the other day because I forgot and then go home and take it.
That
and come
intense
back to work.
for you?
Oh yeah, like almost like vertigo.
Not good.
Yeah, and like nauseous and dizzy. I get nauseous because I'm dizzy, and
not good.
And then after about an hour after taking it, I'm fine. It's weird. I don't know. But
meds are weird.
Yeah. A little insight into everybody's life, I guess, there.
I don't even know how this squirrel started.
That's exactly how it always happens, though. I mean, if you can trace it back, it was not really off task to begin with.
This is like that's what I do all day long. Like, it's so exhausting because I'll be like, where did this conversation start and where do I need to go back to?
Right.
It's so hard.
Well, and I intend to take notes. Like I have an outline that I work from just in case I get off. So I can always come back to questions, but like I don't work from the outline.
Yeah.
And I intend to take notes like, hey, don't forget to do this. But then I get sidetracked from the notes.
Yeah.
It's silly.
This is a problem in my job. Like I need to take notes, especially when I'm seeing somebody new. I'm like, oh, how do I remember all these details? But I can't. If I try to write or type while I'm seeing somebody, the connection with the person is totally gone.
I feel like writing would seem less impersonal than typing.
I think so too. Yeah, but I can't even do that. I start every new patient appointment with a clipboard next to me. It's always blank. Like literally always blank, except for a medication list. That's the only thing that's ever written on it.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
It's the worst.
What about recording them?
Yeah, I've thought about some of the like AI stuff. Like there's medical dictation software, but I just haven't looked into it. I worry like privacy wise. I don't know.
Or just audio recording. Like just have a little tape recorder.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't thought about that.
So, folks, a tape recorder is an actual physical medium.
The AI stuff would be nice because it'll transcribe it for me, which would be amazing.
Yeah, and at least close enough that you could use it as note-taking. Sometimes it gets it a little wrong, but you would kind of know what was right and what was wrong, I think.
Yeah. I just haven't looked into it enough to know if I feel comfortable with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only real risk would be something cloud-based. Because, I mean, if it's just something installed on your computer that can do it on its own, then you wouldn't really have to worry about it.
See, I get so paranoid. Like, this is like a totally unrealistic paranoia, but I'm just like, I'm so protective. I don't want my people's information anywhere. And so I'm like, what if somehow it's hacked and somebody has transcripts of all of our...
That's the last thing they're going to want.
Maybe. I don't know.
What are they going to do with it?
I have no idea, but I don't want them to have it.
It's kind of like when
I don't even know who them is.
It's kind of like when they blur out a license plate on Google. It's like, what are they going to do with that information?
I don't know.
The license plate doesn't mean anything.
But what if they have it? I don't want them to have it.
Well, just don't tie anybody's name to it.
I wonder if there's a way to do that because it'd be in my it's in my medical record is why I'm like leery about it.
Like you would insert it into that, or you could like, because the thing is you could assign each client or patient or whatever you call them a number and then assign that number in the record. And then that number would be assigned to their name somewhere else. So it'd be in two separate places. Yeah, so even if they did get it, they'd have to like cross. They're not going to do that.
That's a lot
They're
of
looking
work.
for credit card numbers.
Which I don't.
And credit card numbers. That's all they're like. Credit card numbers and social security numbers. That's what they're. You get their social security numbers.
I do
don't
have
you?
that.
Well, they can do a lot more with that than they can with one time my uncle touched me or whatever. You know, like honestly.
But
like,
I don't want them to have any of it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
I
like
know.
that's just
I'm just paranoid, and I
clearly.
Yeah, but it's stupid because now I feel like I'm the old school doctor that's like, no technology. Fuck that. Like, the amount of hours I spend charting.
Yeah, I bet it's
disgusting.
I bet it's insane.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot less if I charted while I was seeing somebody, but...
Yeah, it'd be a lot less if you were less busy and not making any money.
This is true.
Another way to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the job. It is what it is.
Yeah, and you're one of the few people who loves what they do.
I do.
I hate you so much.
I love it so much. It has its days, but it's awesome.
I was talking to my buddy Dave, who is going to be on an episode, and I was like, dude, like I can't imagine. Like I'm so bitter towards people who love what they do. Like I'm so bitter, and I don't know if it's like I'm jealous or if it's just hatred. Like I don't know.
Those are way two different emotions.
Says you.
I mean, fair.
They're very closely linked.
They can go together.
Yeah. Oh God. So okay. So we're back.
Yeah.
We're back in
Floyd.
Let's unless we're missing something, let's put you in high school. Okay.
Yeah.
So in high school, who were you in high school? What was your thing?
I was not a great student.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the wheels fell off the bus a little bit for me. It's kind of a miracle I graduated. Hallelujah, they let me graduate early. Otherwise, I would be a high school dropout.
Okay.
So, yeah, I partied a lot in high school. My brother's 5 years older than me. I won't pin it all on my brother, but I hung out with a lot of his friends and, started partying, drinking, doing all the things.
So was that the main thing, or were you like, was school difficult for you?
No, it was so easy.
Yeah.
And I was super bored. So it was like one of those where I showed up like 1 or 2 times a week and I was fine. So it's like, why do I even show up? It's hard to be motivated.
So were your grades still okay? And just your attendance was bad?
Yeah, I was never there. I never wanted to go.
See, and that's whack. That's so whack to put me in my age group. That's whack, man.
That's whack.
That's so whack. Because it's like, okay, look, if your grades are good, what does it matter if you're there?
I know. That's how I felt.
I mean, really.
School district did not feel the same way.
Right. They have a minimum hourly requirement that you need to be. But in the grand scheme of things, if you really think about it, if you have 2 things that it's one or the other. Wouldn't you rather the grades were good than the attendance be good?
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
would think.
You would think.
And if I was like in the school now, like with the policies they have now, they would have, I don't know, my parents would have been in trouble for truancy. Like now it's so serious now. Like I deal with this with people I see. It's like you miss 1 or 2 days a week and they're like, you're having this huge meeting with all the at-risk people. And maybe that's good. Maybe that would have been helpful for me. But if it's bad.
We got a letter because the girls had influenza and were out for 3 days.
Exactly. And like it's so excessive now. I mean, like if I was in school now, I don't know. I think they would have kicked me out. They would have been like, you're never here. You need to not come.
Which is also funny because it's like, hey, you know what your punishment for not being here is? We're kicking you out.
I used to get these suspensions. And I was like, what is this? Why?
Right.
You're mad I'm never here. And then when I show up, you put me in suspension. Why would I come?
It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's like, hey, you know, you keep punching that kid in your homeroom.
Fight Club. Get in there.
We're just going to punch you right in the goddamn face. Like,
yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So school was weird.
I didn't love it. It wasn't great I don't know. I hung out with a lot older people. Yeah, I just didn't want to be there. None of my friends were there.
So did you have any hobbies, or was partying your hobby?
It was well, I guess I should say that was like later in high school. When I first started high school, I was like in orchestra. I was on swim team, but I pretty much just dropped all that and started partying.
Yeah.
You can't really do both. Pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
5 a.m. swim team when you're hungover, it's not a...
I'm telling you.
Not a vibe.
The CW tells me different. Like, it tells me all those high school shows starring 30-year-olds, they can party and they can be vampires.
Well, good. I'm so glad for them. I'm glad somebody can. I could not. And I was working, so I was like, I don't know how to juggle all these things.
What'd you do for a job in high school?
I worked at my dad's gas station.
Weak.
Yeah. It was awesome. I loved it. We had a lot of fun. I didn't maybe so much love it then because working for your parent is kind of weird sometimes,
right.
But yeah.
Real hard to get fired though.
Yeah. Trust me, I know.
Because they're like, fuck, we really need the help. And she's our kid. She's going to be around anyway. But she's really good at her job here, but she's never here.
Yeah. I always went to work. Maybe not always to school, but I was always going to go to my job until like later, right before I was about to be moving and quitting. Then I was kind of bad on my attendance, but until that point.
So what did you want to do when you were in high school? Like, what was your, like, even if you were like partying and stuff, like, did you have motivation? Was there something you wanted to do?
I think I would have been happy being complacent and staying in my hometown and just working at my dad's gas station forever.
What changed?
I got pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd already moved at that point, and I was like, that's just like the path, you know? Everybody's like, you got to go to college. So I was like, I got to do that too. Sounds good. So I got accepted to UNI and moved to Cedar Falls and then got pregnant like 6 months later.
So you had already decided to go to college before you got pregnant? Yeah,
but not like, I was not interested in anything. I was going for social work at one. I started with early childhood elementary.
Ugh.
Absolutely not. And then social work, which tracks.
Yeah. Also, they're kind of the same thing anymore.
For real. But I didn't graduate from UNI, but yeah, I didn't feel any like, I was just doing it because it was what you're supposed to do, you know?
And so for those people that don't know, UNI is the University of Northern Iowa. It started out as the Iowa Teachers School or something in like the early 1900s. And now it's basically the school in Iowa that you go to if you want to be a teacher still.
Yeah, why I ended up there.
Yeah.
Just because it's close.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Well, in a lot of people, it's the smallest of the 3 state schools.
Yeah.
And it's noticeably smaller.
Yeah.
And in this area, it's close to everything. So a lot of people, and it's a suitcase college, like a lot of kids go there during the week, go home on the weekends. They don't stay during the summer. The whole town dies. Cedar Falls, like they half their population in the summer. All the businesses on the hill, which is like the college business area, they all just dry up in the summer. So it's definitely a different environment than Iowa or Iowa State.
Yeah.
And I think it is a lot of people like they're just kind of like,
it's the catch-all.
Yeah, we'll just go here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't end up at Nyack.
Yeah, I did apply there, and so that was my options. I had Iowa. I was accepted to Iowa, and UNI, Nyack.
Wait a minute.
I know.
So you were accepted to Iowa.
Yeah.
So I feel like you are telling us a little different story about your high school experience? Because you can't just get into Iowa.
I had good grades. I mean, I had great grades. I graduated a semester early because I knew I was going to fail out, like just because of my attendance if I kept going.
So you would have had to have taken the ACT. Mm-hmm. How'd you do on that?
Hungover as
Really?
fuck.
You must have done really well on it.
I don't remember. I think I did. I mean, I must have done decent.
You must have. I mean, because like I hate the University of Iowa, and I've never hidden that. Like I'm a Cyclone. I went to Iowa State. I graduated from Iowa State. But the University of Iowa is kind of a big deal. I mean, like you can't just get into Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to test in. However, did you know it's easier to test out of like AP biology at Iowa than it is AP biology at Iowa State? And
really?
Iowa's the medical school.
That seems backwards.
Yeah, it's very backwards. When you take the AP test, well, at least it was 25 years ago. When you took the AP test, you had to have a minimum score to test out. And like, yeah, I mean, I didn't test out for either of them because AP was not my thing. Like I was a really good student, but like if I had to take anything that was considered further ahead than I was supposed to be, I didn't do well. It was really bizarre. Like,
that is weird.
But like, yeah, I mean, mostly straight A's until like they skipped me a year ahead in math, and then I took AP Bio and I did not do well in either class. It's very weird.
Mental block.
Maybe, or I mean, I'm also math-tarded. Like I am not good at math at all.
I feel you.
Yeah, the math is not. It's always when the girls are like, "Dad, I have homework. Can you help me?" Like, is it math? Yeah, Mom will help you. Like, I don't want to screw them up. And their math is so different now.
So different. Like, it's so hard to help them.
They make it so much harder because it's not
confusing.
Logical. It's creative. You know, so like to think about numbers in a non-logical way is really not the way to do it.
It's very confusing.
Somebody sold the education system a bill of goods.
And here we are.
Yep. Here's our program that we just made up. It's way better. Okay.
And none of your parents can help you. Good luck.
It's like, no, just take the numbers and put them together and make more numbers. Don't clap and jump and like it's all kinds of weird shit.
My daughter tries to like talk me through her thought because I'm always like, if you're struggling with something, like talk me through your thought process so I can help talk you through it a different way. And she'll talk me through it for math, and I'm just like, what are you talking about?
You end up more confused than when you went in.
I have no like. Let's just stop that thought process entirely. Right. Here's mine. Take what you can from it. I'm sorry. Good luck. I'll get you a tutor.
Because I can do that now. I own my own business.
I mean, they offer it for free. Shit.
Oh well, then.
Don't let me forget my humble roots now.
So you get to UNI.
Yes.
You get pregnant.
Thank God.
And basically it changes your life for the positive.
100%.
So you're pregnant, and you know, like most people understand the science behind this. 9 months later, a baby comes.
What?
So you were in school at the time. Mm-hmm. So what did you do when you found out you were pregnant? Like.
So it didn't feel like a good thing at the time.
Sure.
I was like, oh, fuck, this is so bad. Yeah, so I was kind of just like floating directionless up until that point. And I was like, okay, now I need to get my shit together and figure out what I'm doing.
Were you working?
Yeah. I was working at Texas Roadhouse as a waitress. Hated that job so much. It's awful. The little dances you have to do. And yeah. And then I was also working as a support professional for like group home individuals.
Sure.
So that kind of like guided me into the medical field because I was like, oh, honestly, this is so awful. But I was like, these nurses are making good money. Maybe I could be a nurse. And then later I was like, I kind of like helping people.
Well, nursing's the new hairdresser.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Like,
it is.
I mean, luckily you get phased out of nursing a lot easier than I think being a hairdresser.
Yes.
So like a lot of people go into it because they don't know what else to do, but then they don't make it.
Right.
Some of them sneak through that shouldn't have made it.
They do.
But,
and we all have met them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes over and over and over.
But it's so hard. Like you don't last in the healthcare industry if you don't like what you're doing because it's awful and you don't get paid enough for the shit you deal with.
Right. So, sometimes literally the shit you do.
Literally. Not sometimes. Most of the time. And wherever you're working.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Gross. So did the change come for you after you had your daughter or before?
The day I found out I was pregnant, I was like, I got to get my shit together because I'm about to have a little person, you know, and I'm clearly what I've been doing is not going to be enough to provide for her. So I got my CNA. I can't remember if I got that before I had her or not, but I kind of like pivoted my whole path to healthcare after I found out I was pregnant. So I got my CNA, went to Hawkeye. I think I had it before I was done before I had her, and then started like working healthcare jobs. And then I was like, oh, I actually like this. I feel like I'm good at it. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Did you jump straight to your RN or did you do LPN first?
I did my LPN.
Did you?
So I did like CNA. I worked for a little bit. Then I went back for my LPN, got that at Hawkeye, worked for a little bit, and then got my RN. Like every stop I made, I like worked for a little bit to be like, do I actually like this?
Right.
Do I really want to go on?
Yeah.
It served me so well.
And for people who don't know, explain CNA, LPN, RN.
Yeah. So CNA is a nurse assistant. So that's like the beginning steps, I would say, for a healthcare career.
Bedpans and the dirty jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like the patient, you're the direct patient care. So, and then LPN is a licensed practical nurse. So that you're a nurse. There's like lots of hot debate in the nursing world, whether that's a real nurse or not, but
well, you can dispense
definitely are.
Meds.
Yep, you can administer meds. You can do treatments. You can have a caseload of patients. It doesn't, I would say the training doesn't come with as much of like the critical thinking end as the RN does, but I've also worked with LPNs that know
way more than RNs.
Way more. Yeah. So it just depends on the person.
In my many travels throughout life, and I've had many of them in these 45 years, I've met some RNs that were dumber than a bag of hair.
100%.
And some LPNs that are sharp.
Yeah.
You know.
That
are damn near doctors.
For real.
So like those letters, whenever somebody tells you, go get letters after your name, like.
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't
I mean,
matter.
For pay.
For sure. And job opportunity. Yeah. Where you can work.
And the things that you're allowed to do, I suppose. Because like LPNs can give shots and stuff, right?
Yeah, you can't do like anything IV when you're an LPN.
Right.
And you can't really work in the hospital setting. I mean, they kind of are changing that now, but it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then an RN is like, the RN kind of runs the show.
Yeah. That's like definitely like you are. So one of the big difference between those two is like LPN, you can't do a certain level of assessment because of the like critical thinking aspect behind it because you're just not taught all that.
Right.
Pathophysiology. So then the RN, it's like, I feel like the difference between the two is you have a lot more critical thinking and assessment skills.
So kind of like difference between EMT and paramedic.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
So then you go, you're an RN for a while, really, for quite a while, a few years, right? And then you decide, I'm going to pull the trigger on this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go the whole distance. I'm basically going to be better than a doctor.
I mean, basically, just take that word out. I'm biased, clearly.
Well, and you know, I'm a
nurse practitioner.
It's crazy. Yeah. So you're a nurse practitioner, and like that is something no one heard of 20 years ago.
Yeah, it really took off.
PAs and NPs.
Yeah.
Like it was not a thing. And now they've basically taken over healthcare.
As we should.
You know, because it's not unheard of to go to like urgent care or something, never see a doctor. Mm-hmm. You'll see a PA, you know, and they can do pretty much everything a doctor can do.
Especially when it comes to psychiatry, like we have the same. Right. And I don't want to insult any psychiatrists out there because they do get a different level of training, but like we have the same scope of practice.
Right.
So yeah, we're equals.
And I think almost psychiatry, like psychiatrists are almost being phased out.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to find. Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen a psychiatrist since I was 14.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even know where to find one.
Especially in our area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty few and far between.
I mean, I see my therapist for my feelings, and then I see my doctor for my meds, you know? And I mean, I'm in a weird place, though, because I'm educated enough in mental health that I can tell my GP, like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what my therapist told me. Here's what we think is going on, as opposed to having to go to a psychiatrist and have the psychiatrist explain it to me and then explain it to, you know what I mean? And then,
it's a different.
Yeah. So I'm lucky there. And so far it's worked. I mean, you know,
let me know if it doesn't.
Yeah. So, and it was funny because when I went to my physical, they're like, so you're on these medications. Do you think that they need to be like, don't touch them.
They're working.
Don't you fucking touch them. These medications keep everyone else alive.
When you find the happy medium, it's like, we're not doing anything.
I don't. And I'm super pro medic. You know how I feel about this. But like I'm super pro medication, but I'm also very anti over medicating, and like behavior modification goes along with the medication because the medication is just there to take the edge off.
Yeah, you need both.
So like I can recognize that, and so I feel like I'm not abusing the system by using my training and experience to say, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what how I feel. I think the meds can stay, or I think I need more or less, you know, because then I'm going, okay, well, the meds aren't going to fix everything, clearly. Clearly.
I love that sentence because, the amount of times I have to say that.
They're a tool.
They're a tool.
Like
the tools work better together.
Yep. Yeah.
One by themselves doesn't work as good, usually.
Yeah. Like, I don't care how awesome of a cordless drill you have.
Yeah.
If you don't know what a screw is, you're fucked.
Right. Or what if you don't have the charger?
Right. Yes.
It's real bad.
Exactly. That's a really good analogy because I'm tired all the fucking time. So you go and you get your nurse practitioner. That took a while, right?
So I had a stop and grab in between. I got my bachelor's.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely like a lot simpler tracks. You can have programs where you just go from like nothing to bachelor's, and that would have been a lot simpler. But I was like, let's do this the hard way. Yeah.
Well, I think more to your credit that you wanted to make sure it was the right path for you. You know, I mean, it makes sense. A lot of people do jump feet first into something, and then they end up in a career that is not right for them, and then they have no other skills.
And you got all this debt and years invested into it. And you're like, well,
you're trapped.
This is what I'm doing.
Yep. And so then you're not as good at the thing. Whereas the whole way through, you were assessing like, okay, I like this part of it. I don't like working for other people.
It took me a long time to figure that out.
It probably took you longer to figure it out than everyone else around you.
Yeah, true. The amount of times people have told me.
Like, if everybody else is dumb... It might be time for you to work for yourself.
I should have figured that out a long time ago.
I wish I could find a way to do that. And it was kind of fun watching you through the process because it was like you were constantly moving forward, which is humans don't do that. You know,
true. So, it's very easy to get stagnant.
Yeah. And you were constantly doing that. And a lot of the conversations you and I would have over the years was about like, what's next? What do I do to change this? What do I do to feel more fulfilled? Like you were constantly looking ahead, and that's pretty admirable. Like, and it's the right way to do things, you know? And so watching you through that process was really neat.
Love that.
And that's why, like I said earlier, I'm so proud of you is because I got to watch you from like being
this little dumbass nurse that didn't know anything.
Nothing.
You and can then say
it's like, well, but I mean, that's it. And that's how that's how you have to start.
Yeah.
You know, because
I was.
If you go in thinking you know everything, which you were a lot more, not timid, but like you weren't as assertive.
For sure.
You know, and then you grew as you grew. It was like really fucking cool to see. And you don't see that very often just in general because most people, humans are dumb and they're bad at humaning and like they'll get frustrated with something or they won't know everything and then that'll torpedo like their growth. And so watching it was really cool. So, and I totally forgot the step of the bachelor's because I saw that happen, you know, so you get your bachelor's.
Kind of like a weird little, like it didn't change anything, you know, it was just the next step.
But again, it's, you know, a bachelor's of nursing is different than a bachelor's of arts. Like it gives you way more opportunities than getting just a Bachelor of Arts degree would, like comparatively. Like it's weird. The medical field is so different.
It is.
You know, if you get an AA in anything else, it's like, yeah, great job. You settled, you know, but if like you get a 2-year degree in nursing, that's on its way to something else, you know?
Yeah.
So when you hear someone has what is it, a BSN? Like you're like, oh shit, it's a big deal.
It kind of like leads you into a leadership path though, which like is good, but for me, it was like I felt like I almost educated myself out of what I wanted. I didn't want to be... I could be leadership while still doing hands-on stuff, but I didn't want to manage people. Right. That was not. And I feel like that's what, when you get your BSN, it's like, oh, I want to be a director of nursing or something along those lines. And I was like, oh, what did I do?
Super right-brained, though. Like, and that's not where you live, homie.
Not even a little bit.
No, like it's
bad.
It's very, very numbers and people management, and like left brain is obviously like if people knew you, like they'd be like, no, that's, and as a left brain person, like what you're doing now is pretty perfect. Like you're able to
toes the line between both.
Yeah. But you're also able to work at your pace and design your structure, which left brain people, that's very important to them because if they have to live in someone else's structure, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. Relatable.
Yep.
Been there.
So you get your BSN and then you're like, okay, I've decided this is not what I want to do as far as this being my role. Let's do something crazy.
That's exactly how it happened. Yeah. I literally decided like one night and enrolled the next day. I'm not even kidding. It was so impulsive. There was not a whole lot of forethought.
Because really the next step past NP is a doctorate of nursing, right? I mean, really. Yep. So maybe someday, huh?
Yeah, doubtful.
No, I mean, why?
There's
really no point.
Why?
Like, if you have your own practice,
it makes no sense.
Yeah. So So you get your NP, your nurse practitioner, and your focus being psychology, right? Like psychiatry.
Yeah.
What's the difference between those two things?
So I wish there's a great science difference, but like in the hands-on world, it's like psychologists can do more testing and like diagnosing.
Okay.
Psychiatry feels like it's more of the hands-on people work. This is just my rudimentary difference in my brain. But yeah, like psychologists do a lot more of like the in-depth testing to diagnose. Okay. And for me, I don't like diagnosis in general. So
ology is the study of.
Yeah. So that's a good way to put it because I just feel like they're more hands off. I'm probably super offending a lot of psychologists.
Is it more of a research?
Kind of.
More of a research job, psychology?
I mean, they work hands on with people though too, but it's just more of the clinical diagnosis testing.
So diagnostics, maybe a little academic.
Yes, that's a good way to word it. Yes.
So,
yes.
Anytime you throw ology on something, somebody's wearing a tweed
jacket.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With the leather patches. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Same level.
Psychiatrists, they're probably smoking a pipe. One of the, whatever.
Well.
So you get your NP and you're still working for other people at that point, kind of trying to find where you're going to land.
Yeah. I worked in a lot of different settings throughout nursing and while I was getting my NP because I feel like I was kind of testing the waters everywhere of mental health is huge. Like you can work anything in mental health. So I'm like, what do I want to do with this? I need to focus it down even more.
Well, so you worked in hospital setting, you worked in like corrections, because at one point didn't you even like apply for like the director of nursing at like the prison?
Yeah, and I got offered it, but I didn't take it.
That's like probably a good choice.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been interesting, but yeah, it would have. I'm not a leadership person in that role,
and it's a very limiting.
Yeah,
role.
I would have probably, and then it came with all those like crazy benefits, so I probably would have. I mean, I say I would have stayed there, but knowing myself, I would have just dipped on out if I didn't like it. Yeah. But it would have been harder to leave all that stuff. Again,
working for yourself, you get to see what you want to see.
Yeah.
And there you would government limitations and all kinds of different stuff. And you're seeing a very small cross section of society. And, so I think probably that makes sense for growth that you didn't take that,
I'm glad. Because I would have moved there too. So my trajectory, that was really like pivotal when I didn't take that because it would have changed a lot. I would have moved to Iowa City and yeah.
Well, and I had totally forgotten about that until right now. And I was like, oh yeah, there's that time.
There's a lot of weird stuff in my work history. So instead of taking that job, I took a community-based nursing job where I like working in the community.
I forgot about that homes. Too. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that's like my favorite one. I don't know. They're all my favorites, but that definitely was like my landing board into getting my nurse practitioner, I would say.
Well, and the nice thing too is some of the places that you worked and some of the places that you worked for allowed you to go, I know what I'm never going to do.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, like I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to treat people like that. I'm never going to treat patients like that.
Yeah.
The goal has to be wellness, not money.
Or like furthering whatever crisis they're already in with our actions. That was a very common theme in a lot of the places I worked.
Yeah, which is insane.
Insane. That's literally the opposite of what we're here to do.
The bad thing is if you don't have the right people running a healthcare system that is for profit, it's going to be a disaster.
100%.
I mean, clearly your healthcare system, your practice is for profit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're making money. It's
the nature of my job.
It's your job.
I like to get paid.
Yeah. But because you have the best interest of your people in mind, that's very different than a for-profit. Like, I feel like one of the worst things that we in the area, and people bag on like county hospitals and stuff, but one of the worst things we have are all of our hospitals are for profit.
100%.
So they're based on revenue and liability. So like
that word,
they don't want people there that are going to be a liability, which is insane because it's like, or you could just give them the care they need.
And maybe they wouldn't be a liability anymore. Right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a weird thought process.
Like I've heard through Joe and Jesse who've been on the show, like I've heard stories about doctors that will refer patients out because they're afraid the patient's going to sue them. Rather than giving them
That's such
care
a thing.
or putting a limit on the care. Be like, no, you don't need this care. Instead, they'll refer them out and be like, well, go get a second opinion over here, or go get, and then it's like, well, if you would just have confidence in your ability to treat somebody. And, you know, I've talked about the company that I work for when they brought in their employee wellness program and sent me to all these trainings so I could train our people and stuff. You know, like I had to say, look, man, like I'm going to have to assess people for suicide. And there's going to be times when I'm just going to be like, they're fine. They don't need, this is not what you think it is. I have to be confident in my skill set because, yeah, there is a liability. They could walk out of that building tomorrow and kill themselves.
Absolutely.
And that sucks. But at the same time, I have to be confident enough to not be afraid every time somebody approaches me and says, hey, we go talk to the person in accounting because we think they might be suicidal. And then I'm like, they are not suicidal. Like, they're just sad.
Right.
And we can get them the help they need, but that's all we're going to do. We're not going to go lock them up in a building because I trust in my ability. Then you have these doctors that are just like, but they might sue me if something goes wrong. Then make sure something doesn't go wrong. Like trust your assessment.
Right.
No, that guy doesn't have a rotator cuff tear. He hasn't done anything physical in the last 2 years. Like nothing is bad. Like he just wants attention, you know, or whatever, or pain medication or whatever. Like just trust in your ability. And
yeah, you can't practice medicine from that. Like,
from fear.
Yeah, because it's just like you're never going to meet that person's needs if you're just terrified with everything that you're doing.
Well, it's like anything you prescribe, they could have an allergic reaction to. Like you can't be terrified.
It can always be something that is going to go wrong in any situation. Like, you have to be confident in your ability.
So it's like, it's just insane. You know, you see, and so like we have these for-profit hospitals that don't want to treat appropriately or don't want to treat at all. And it's like, dumb. Like so dumb. So, and I don't remember how we got there, but like it's frustrating. So circling back, I guess the point is like your goal is to treat the person.
100%.
You know?
Yeah. And even like it puts me in kind of a weird situation sometimes because when I decided to go private practice, which like even saying that makes me want to throw up a little bit. Like I hate those words and I don't view myself that way, but that is what I am. Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
But I was like, I don't want to, it's pretty easy to go private practice and be like, okay, I'm going to only treat the people that are going to be
easy
or reimbursed very highly or little work for a lot of income. Right. And it's just like, okay, that just furthers this problem. Like you have all these practitioners that will go private and only accept the highest paying insurances. And so then where do all these other people go?
Right. Right. And I know that you see people from every part of society. Like you have everybody from the forgotten people all the way up through
my favorites.
Yep. Those are your friends. You always call them your friends.
Yep. Those are my friends.
You know, and you are really good at no judgment. This is who I'm treating these people because they're people and they need treated.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like you could go and say, I'm only going to treat soccer moms with benzo addictions.
Yeah,
you know,
with high-paying insurance.
Yeah, with high-paying insurance.
It's pretty uncommon for private practice to take Medicaid, and that's a huge part of the problem. And honestly, I got to a point where I was almost like, I don't want to take Medicaid because it took them so long to reimburse me.
Right.
So it's like I get it, but that just perpetuates the problem. Right. Those are usually the people that need care the most.
And then they become a drain on society because they're not getting the care that they need.
Right.
And it's a cycle.
And their options are so limited because, and then the options they do have are these way overwhelmed institutions that how could they ever keep up with that demand?
Well, and you know, from your previous employment of being in corrections and stuff, you had a built-in base.
Yeah.
People that are comfortable seeing you that may not have otherwise accepted treatment.
Sure.
You know, so I mean that's pretty valuable, especially because of some of the new treatments that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like with the ketamine treatment and like doing some like pretty groundbreaking stuff. So like that's got to be exciting for you. You know, it's like not just business as usual.
Yeah.
If you're doing stuff that's different than what other people are doing, it allows you to stay motivated and stimulated.
That's huge for me. Yeah. And I still kind of struggle because it's like, I'm not a desk job person.
Right.
And I kind of like educated myself into a desk job and I was like, oh, this is bad news bears. So even like when I first started my practice, I was like, oh no, I cannot do this for 8 to 9 hours a day. Like just sitting at a desk.
Right.
So yeah, I incorporate some of those other things.
So,
and it helps.
And I think we kind of touched on it before. So like the difference with nurse practitioner is you can prescribe medication, you can do all the normal therapy, talk therapy, all that stuff, and you can prescribe prescribe and diagnose.
Yep.
Right. So,
For sure.
so you're basically, all jokes aside, you're basically a doctor. I mean, basically.
In psychiatry, we have the same.
So, I mean, there's really not a differentiation.
Doctors definitely have more education than us, I will say.
That does not make them smarter or
it
more qualified.
It doesn't. I will and I've worked with great nurse practitioners. I've worked with terrible ones. I've worked with great doctors and terrible ones. Right. I think the difference with a nurse practitioner versus a doctor is you have to be a nurse first. And nurses are the shit, obviously, but also we know how to talk to people.
And they do the heavy lifting, honestly.
Yeah, we do the hands-on stuff. The difference in a bedside manner between a nurse practitioner and a doctor is crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's night and day.
I feel like some of the younger doctors that are coming through are starting to try to be more personable.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a long way to go for that.
And there's great ones, just in every field, but you come from a totally different perspective. When you're already a nurse, you already know how to treat a patient like a person. Because the doctors are the ones giving the orders. We're the ones executing them and dealing with the person all day, every day.
You spend more time with them.
Yeah.
I mean,
so much time.
You can't just be all clinical, all business if you're going to sit and talk to somebody. It doesn't work. Right.
Yeah.
So I touched a little bit on, I'm fascinated with this ketamine thing, right? Because when you say ketamine, they're like, that's a horse tranquilizer, right?
That's surgery. What are you?
The line from Armageddon. We tested positive. Some of you guys tested positive for ketamine. That's a horse tranquilizer. Well, some of these are pretty big guys, But kind of talk to people about what the thought process is, what that treatment is doing for people.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm not gonna lie. I was really scared when we first started it because it's new. It kind of, so Spravato is what we do. It's the nasal version of ketamine. And so it's the only FDA approved version of it. And it came out during COVID. So it was scary to do it myself because it was it came out during a time where we weren't hands-on with healthcare. So it's do I trust this? And also I'm just a skeptic by nature. So I was
is this ivermectin?
I don't know how I feel.
Is this a Joe Rogan thing?
Yeah. I love Joe Rogan though. So if it was, I would probably feel better.
Oh, he's such an idiot though.
I love him.
He's so entertaining.
I literally listen to him on my drive here.
Oh God. I again, that's that bitterness thing though too. The guy's a billionaire doing this.
What you want to do.
This. Yeah, it's insane. But also sometimes he needs to shut up.
He doesn't always stay in his lane.
No.
And sometimes when he talks about mental health shit, I'm like, don't. I love you. Please stop.
Well, and the worst part is he won't just let his guests talk.
Sometimes.
He brings in experts and he either wants to argue with them.
Which I love that. It's fun.
It's from an entertainment standpoint, but from a dude, these people have something to say standpoint. It's shut the fuck up, Joe.
Yeah.
Go kick a bag and do an ice bath and eat some elk heart or something. Stay in your lane. Listen.
I love him though.
Just listen. I don't feel like he listens, and that's a huge thing.
I think in some of them, I don't know. There's some definitely where I'm oh, but
I think if it's interesting to him, he'll listen.
Maybe.
But if he's just having somebody on to have somebody on, I think he likes to talk over them.
He has a I feel like an asshole that I don't remember the name. I was just listening to it, but it's a guy that works with wrongfully incarcerated, and he has him on twice a year, and I was listening to it. It's whenever I see him as a guest, I'm oh, okay, I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna listen to this immediately. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, he definitely has found he found his moment and he grabbed it. This is a guy that used to host a show about people eating worms.
I know.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just nuts. Sorry, but I digress.
Oh yes. So Spravato.
Right.
Circling back. I tracked it back. When we were first, it's me and another nurse practitioner. We're not we have our own practices, but we share space, and she's wonderful. She balances out my particular breed of crazy. So thank God.
She keeps Cassandra in check.
Yes. It's a hard job. Shout out Neelam. God bless. So when we were talking about should we offer this, it's no other clinics in town are doing it in a clinic setting. So I was it's a need that's not being met. And that's pretty big for me in every area of healthcare I've worked in is let's not reinvent the wheel. So if things are already being met and it's going great, awesome. But there's tons of gaps of care. So what can we fill? So right now you could do it in a pharmacy setting or a hospital setting. And so I was that to me just feels awful.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about it, it's if you're going to be under the influence of ketamine, which is going to make you a little sedated and dissociate a little bit, why would you want to be around other people? That sounds awful to me and so overstimulating and scary. And I mean, it must not be that awful of an experience because people do it, but it just didn't sound fun to me.
So how did you learn? Do you have to become certified in this particular thing, or how did you learn?
Yeah, your clinic has to be. So it's a part of a monitoring program through the FDA. I think it's through the FDA, through some regulating agency.
So somebody else is clearly submitting the paperwork on this.
No, it's me.
Oh, no.
It's only me. I'm the only one.
Well, the other gal?
Yeah, but we have separate practices, so we have to do all our own.
I thought maybe she was helping you with your paperwork.
We were really just like support for each other. Like, should we do this?
Yeah.
Should we do it? We're going to do this, right? It's going to be fine.
So are you part of a study?
No. So the monitoring program, it's called REMS, and it's like you can have there's REMS for other medicines too. It's like just a risk evaluation mitigation strategy. That's the definition. Like if there's a specific risk for a medication, you have to submit data or adhere to certain standards to show that you're mitigating that risk. Okay. So for Spravato, it's diversion, like because it's a very addictive substance. So basically you have to register your clinic and adhere to all these standards and submit paperwork about what happens to the patients while they're there.
So what is the goal? Like, what is it treating?
Yeah, so it's only approved for treatment-resistant depression. So people that have tried and failed like standard modes of treatment of depression, like our SSRIs and all that good stuff.
Those are delicious.
I feel like this is weird to say as a prescriber, but I don't feel super confident in SSRIs anymore, especially the longer I practice. I'm just like, the amount of times I prescribe them and they don't work for people is a lot.
Yeah.
But they do work for some people.
I think they're one of those things that they work for the people they work for.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's not everybody.
And the more critical cases, like they're a maintenance medication, so it's like they're not like immediate. They're not, and so if you have a pretty drastic mental illness, I think it's going to be tough for an SSRI to cut your issues down enough that you can then deal with them with behavior modification. Like they're very easily tolerated. So therefore they're probably not as strong. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense.
And they used to kind of just be our only option. Right. So it was like, you got some anxiety, Lexapro or Zoloft, what do you want? And then that's about it. Right. But I feel like we have a lot more options now, which is good. But so it's treatment-resistant depression. So if you've tried and failed other depression, or acute suicidality is the other like indication for it. And the thought process is like, it's kind of, and I tell this to my patients when we're like talking about doing it, like I don't feel like we have the neuroscience to know exactly what's happening. Right. So I'm just like totally upfront about that. The thought process is like with chronic depression, your neuro pathways kind of shut down or you lose some of those connections. And what the ketamine is doing is kind of reopening up some of those pathways that depression has closed.
Is it working the same way and allowing, since those pathways are open, allowing them to absorb whatever hormones or brain chemicals that they normally would need? Is that how it's... Is it like opening a door and letting fresh air in, or is
I would
it different?
say so, yeah. So it's like, I think it helps everything else work better too, because you're like reopening those pathways. So you have to be doing other stuff. Sure. One of the requirements is you have to be on an antidepressant as well. And so I think the thought process there is everything else is going to work better. So
what are you finding that you're pairing it with as the other antidepressant then, usually?
It depends. I wouldn't say there's just one. No. Some of the people that do it that I see are my patients, and some are like referred to me. So it really kind of depends on prescriber preference too. So what's the process? So they come into your practice and they sit down in a comfy chair, I assume, right? Right? Because all your chairs are comfy. Right. So that's pretty much it. Even the ones in the lobby that are just like regular office chairs are pretty comfy. The only thing I don't like is like the lobby is... There's nowhere. I know. But there is I don't think I've showed you this. There's a little space behind the desk that is like our lobby, but it's like back a little bit. Oh, is that where you guys come around to scare me? Yeah. Oh, okay. Is it? Probably. Yeah, the other way. Yeah, it's like right behind the like main entry desk. I'll have to show you, but yeah, it's not any. Well, I'll probably start stealing a room again now that I'm editing. Yeah. So they come in, they sit down in a comfy chair. You said it's a nasal spray. Okay. Yeah. So you administer it, I assume. They do it. They have to be under our supervision. But so before their first ketamine session, we have like a pre-appointment where we go over all the things. So we have like a little practice device so they feel super comfortable doing that, and like go over all the things you can't do the day of treatment and all that good stuff. So like what stuff can you not do the day of treatment? Can't eat 2 hours before, can't drink an hour before, and you can't drive. So somebody has to bring you. And so then they do this spray. Mm-hmm. And now is it different dosages for different body sizes and stuff, or is it just pretty much there's 2 different dosages. Okay. It's kind of like again, prescriber preference, but how I do is like the first dosage is like the maintenance. Not the maintenance, initiation to get your body used to it. Mm-hmm. I haven't really found that lower dose does anything other than that. Oh, okay. So it's like we do that for the first 2 appointments and then we go right up to the next dose.
So now they go up to the actual dose that's going to make a difference, right? So they take that. What happens?
So it's kind of like an intensive treatment protocol. Like you're coming twice a week for a month and then you're coming once a week for a month. And then after that, we kind of just feel out how you're doing, whether that continues once a week or we go to every other or whatever that looks like. So it's like a big time commitment. I mean, you're there for 2 hours. So they come in, we do the administration of the nasal device, and then they're there for 2 hours afterwards for monitoring. So we're like checking their vitals before they start, in the middle, and then at the end to make sure that they're doing okay.
So what's happening during that time?
So it's a side effect of ketamine is like the dissociation and the sedation are the 2 biggest things. And dissociation is like so different for everybody. It sounds so scary, that big scary word. Yeah. But for some people, it's just like little perceptual changes, like colors look differently. Some people are just sedated and napping. It just depends on the person.
So they have whatever hopefully positive reaction they have. Are there any negative side effects that are troublesome or?
It can make you nauseous. So that's why no food or drink, because obviously we don't want you like throwing up if you're sedated.
Sure.
Bad.
Right.
So that would be one. Headaches is one. Sometimes the dissociation is like negative depending on, I have no science to. This is totally just my own opinion, but I really feel like it depends on your mental state that day, like what you're coming into it. So like if you're coming in after having a really, really bad day, I think that dissociation is probably not going to be positive. So we try to I talk with my people that day, just like, where are you at? Like, how are you doing? What's going on? And even like, if it is something really big has happened, then maybe today is not the day to do treatment.
Right. Have you seen any extremely negative reactions?
Not much. Like really, I was very nervous for that. Like when we first started, I was like, oh my God, I just want to sit in here with you the whole time and be super creepy. But no, it's really, most people tolerate it really well. There has been a few like anxiety reactions, but nothing super intense.
Because I could see where that would be like, I mean, especially because of the environment that your practice is in, like where it could be a little scary. Like it's just us in here, you know, whatever, and you don't really know what's gonna happen, and you have to count on them being honest with you about what their day has been like too.
Which I think like that's part of why I don't, it's not like you meet once, or it's not like the first time I meet this person we're doing a ketamine session, because like you have to have that relationship rapport, which that's important to me anyway in my practice. But yeah, you have to have some kind of connection, so there is that trust both ways.
That makes sense. Sense. So you said you don't 100% know where it's going. How long have you been doing it now?
A year.
A year?
That's crazy.
And is it something you think that you're going to stick with? Has there been enough positive?
Yeah. It's been like I've had, I would say, and I cannot say this about any other medication I prescribe, I would say everybody that has done this treatment that I have treated has had some positive response.
So that was going to be my next question is, once they leave, so the 2 hours is up, and they have to have someone drive them home, right? So then what? Like, how does it continue to help them throughout the next 2 weeks or whatever?
Yeah, and I feel like that's where we don't have like the science to know. I mean, like it's not, it's those pathways that are reconnecting in your brain, and what that looks like, I don't know. Someday we'll know.
Is the goal that it is still helping them over those 2 weeks, or that it's the immediate relief of the treatment?
It's both, I would say. But like the reason that when you're first starting treatment, it's more intense, you're doing it twice a week for a month, is because that's like the initiation. You're trying to, it's almost like pushing down those roadblocks. Like if a road is closed, you're pushing down the roadblocks to get the cars through. That's like the initiation. And then we hit to a point where the roads are all open, traffic is moving freely, but we want to keep them open. So that's like the maintenance when you're coming less often. So I have some people that get down to just doing it once a month, you know, just to maintain the progress that we've made.
So it's not repairing those pathways, right? It's just holding them open? Because I feel
like I don't know enough to say.
Well, and my understanding is that like the brain and the spinal cord are the only two things that once they're quote unquote damaged, they don't heal.
I think it's, I would say the pathways are not damaged enough to be, like, it's not like brain damage.
Sure.
You know? Okay. It's more just lack of connection.
Okay. So it's kind of connecting them all back together and trying to make a more, to follow the analogy, a more stable network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's my very like rudimentary neuroscience. I don't pretend to be a neuroscientist.
So running down everything we've talked about, tell me one thing that you were surprised overall, whether it's in your life or your practice, that you thought 100% was going to be successful and just wasn't. And it surprised you that it wasn't successful.
Hard question. Like in my work?
Anything in your life.
This sounds so gross, but I'm like, I don't know. Has there been things that haven't been super successful? Wow. I hate myself for saying
what's
that.
What's it like to feel like that?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, so basically, like, what was something that failed and surprised you?
Ooh, that's a good way to...
Failed, same thought process, but failed and surprised you.
Well, I guess, like, when I was doing community-based work, the whole reason I got my NP is because I felt like there was, like, a failure of that system that I was working in.
Sure.
So that was, I don't know that I was surprised that it failed because it was awful working in it. Right. But right. I ultimately had a patient that committed suicide, and that was like life-changing for me. It was awful.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I was like, I felt like working in it, I already knew, like, I'm just in a system that is failing, and I'm just part of it because I'm working in it. That doesn't jive well with me. But then when that big event happened, it was like, I really reflected back on all the things that we fucked up and ways we failed this one particular individual. And it was just like so disheartening and sickening. And I was like, fuck you, I can do it better. So got my NP. Literally purely out of spite.
So that actually brings up an interesting topic is, and you can tell me to go fuck myself if you want.
And I will, you know.
Yeah, I know. Do you see somebody?
Yeah.
Good.
I actually just got reestablished with a new person.
Good.
Yeah. Like one time. I've seen him one time.
But I'm so glad that you answered that in the affirmative, because I always tell everybody, if you are seeing someone who doesn't see someone, don't trust them.
Huge red flag.
Don't trust them.
Huge red flag.
100% do not trust that person.
Yes, agreed.
So good. I'm glad that you answered that, because it was following up on, you had a client that committed suicide. Like, it's like, that's going to happen.
For sure.
And it's important that you have some way that you can deal with that, and not just 100%. I'm going to do better next time, because that's not fair. No. Because you and I both know if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And it sucks, and it's kind of part of the job is sometimes you're going to have a loss. Mm-hmm. But that, those losses can kind of be like, they're not 100% surprising. It's like,
I think it's the ones that are surprising are the harder.
Yeah. Which is, I had one of those recently. Like, it just kind of came in. It was a bad reaction to new mental health medication is what 100% what it was, because the totality of the circumstances, the way it was done, the proximity to when they were around their friends and what their headspace was then, and it was on a friend's birthday. Like, none of those things would have been a choice at all. It just wouldn't have been. That wasn't the kind of person this guy was. He wouldn't have victimized people in that way. Just wouldn't have done it. So, and he had just started a new med. Anybody that understood how that works was like, yeah, that's that. And he had always been very open about his mental illness and like that things he was trying to feel better, and was always actively dealing with maintenance and stuff. So those are, the surprising ones suck. But at the same time, you're also like, well, he was very open about his mental illness. It was always a risk. Mm-hmm. It sucks. It just sucks. Unfair, and it is what it is. So that was tough. I wasn't as close to him as other people were, but that kind of brings up, like, I don't want to keep you from your life, but it kind of brings up something that we had touched on too, is grief is a really weird emotion. And, I've lost 2 people in the last 2 months, and that one was less impactful on me. One, because I was already all grieved out from Tony's death,
Totally a thing. Yeah.
And Tony wasn't just my friend. He was my brother. Like, he was my big brother. I looked up to him. I looked to him for acceptance, like for him to, for affirmation. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to be the kind of dad that he was. Like, I wanted to be the person, because he cultivated this tribe of people that were all good people. And so I was talking to his wife about 2 weeks ago when I asked how she felt about me continuing to do the show. And I was like, I will not do it without your blessing. Like, you and the girls, like, your opinion on this is the only one that matters. Like, what do you think? And she's like, you absolutely have to keep doing it. Basically,
so powerful to have that from her.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't have done it without it. Like, I couldn't, like, and like, I wanted to wait long enough to ask her, because I didn't know if I wanted to, because grief is so fucking weird.
It's so weird.
And this just doesn't feel like I'm constantly out of the corner of my eye. I've got the video feedback going on over here, like, for promo shit. And out of the corner of my eye, I keep wanting to look and be like, right, Tony? Mm-hmm. Like, it's tough because that's where he would have been, because he would remote in when we did. I mean, like, you're the first local person, but I've had other people in here from out of town that have come in and done this, and he was always right there and chiming in and asking questions. And so it's tough. And she also asked, she was like, could you have someone on that could talk a little bit about grief and how it works? And I was like, it's funny that you mentioned that because,
no pressure.
Right. But I was like, the first person that I was going to have on is my friend Cassy. And, like, she's a mental health professional. And I wanted that segue of, like, look, things are not okay. Like, it's not, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't, he like, creatively, like, nobody has ever really believed in any of this. Like, this has just been my thing, like, this has been my thing that I do for mental wellness. It's been my thing that I do to be creative, because working for the corporation I work for is not a creative job. It's just like time to make the donuts, and so I've done this when I stopped doing stand-up, when I stopped doing theater. Like, this has been the constant in one way or another, like, not this show specifically, but my old show and my YouTube channel and stuff. Misinformation Productions, we do whiskey reviews and stuff. It's fun. But
shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. But so this has been my creative outlet, but at no point has really anybody been like, wow, you do really good work. You should keep doing this. Like, this is what you should be doing, except for Tony. And when SAG, AFTRA, and the Writers Guild went on strike, Tony was like, hey, I really want to work with you on this project. Like, I want to create this show where we talk to people about peopling, like, and, like, I like to use that term because when we had Jorge on, and I was like, people aren't good at peopling, and Jorge's just in the background going, people don't people, it's fun, like, to be affirmed in that way too, because he thought it was funny and it's nice to be laughed at. But Tony was always, I was always stuck on the analytics, like, how many people listened last week? What's our trend? How are we trending? Like, what are the downloads? Like, which topics did well? And he's always like, shut up. This is a good show. It tells a good story. We're doing a good job. It's technically proficient. It will work.
You need that balance.
Yeah. So it's tough not having him, because he's a positive person. Like, he's still a positive influence in my life, because every time I go to look at the statistics, I'm like, why?
He's yelling at you.
Yeah. It's not important.
Yeah.
But, like, I still haven't, like, I won't say I haven't cried over it, but, like, I still want to text him. Like, and not just like, oh, I miss him, I'd like to text him, but, like, when something happens, like, I just like, and it's not real to me, because it was so fucking unfair
and so unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for them, obviously, way more than me. I mean, he was their world, and he's just my best friend, like, so.
I don't think you have to compare, though.
No. But I think it's just important that, like, I'm very specific about, like, this didn't just happen to me.
Right.
It happened. It happened to the world. I mean, the guy's been on everybody's TV. He's been on everybody's movie screen. And everybody lost this guy. And so I think that's one of the reasons Reagan wanted me to talk to somebody about grief, because it's like, how the fuck does everybody, like, how does, like, why, like, grief is healthy, but, like, how do you grieve something that should have never fucking happened? I had a guy come into work the other day, and he's like, I got to go to a funeral tomorrow. I was like, oh man, I'm really sorry. He's like, gosh, she was 94. And I'm like, She had a good run, buddy.
So a little different circumstance.
It is a little different. Like, not to say that people shouldn't grieve, but at the same time, when you hear that somebody who's 94 years old, could have been extremely healthy even, they die, you're like...
The natural progression of life.
But good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for them. They made it 94 years. Can you imagine all the things they saw?
Yeah.
You imagine all the things they experienced. When you hear of a 54, 55-year-old guy dying, you're just like, no.
Yeah.
No.
So totally different.
And someone who didn't live unhealthily, someone who didn't have vices, someone who did all of the things they were supposed to do. I mean, look, me and Tony aren't exactly Olympic swimmers or anything, but like, he did very rarely drank, didn't smoke, and like picked his kids up from school every day. And it's just like twofold. Why him? And oh, fuck, is that me? Mm-hmm. Like, am I going to wake up tomorrow dead? Like, it's just such a hard, like every time I get indigestion now, I'm like, fuck, am I dying? Like, it's such a stupid thought process, but like...
I think that's natural, though, to like see that happen and turn it to yourself,
Maybe. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just like us as humans. That's how your thought process goes. It's like however it's impacting you.
For grief, like, I assume that closure is probably stupid important because that's why we have funerals and celebrations of life and stuff. I just don't understand for everybody. Like, I don't understand I understand how grief works, but at the same time, like, it never feels the same. Like every grief feels completely different. Like, it's like you're not even opening the same wound.
Definitely not. Because it's a different loss every time.
Yeah. Your logical brain is like, well, look, if I am a basketball player and I lose all the time, I kind of get used to losing, but it's like you have deaths, and I've dealt with death,
sure.
I mean, and I've had people in my life that died and I was like, yeah, that fucking sucks, mm-hmm. but we're okay. And I've had people in my life that have died and it fucking destroyed me. And I just worry about people and having to deal with such an unfair thing. I worry about his kids, his wife. They're all young,
mm-hmm.
And now they have to live the rest of their lives. It's just not fucking fair. And I keep saying that over and over, like, mm-hmm. and it's like, how do people who are grieving, how do they rectify that and not feel hopeless for the other people that have felt the same loss, like, because that doesn't help them. I mean, I guess that's the difference between empathy and pity.
Right.
And sympathy. Like, empathy, you feel for them. Sympathy and pity, you feel bad.
About how they're feeling.
Yeah. Whereas empathy, you feel for them and you want good things for them. And it's like, I guess that's what you do.
I feel like it almost speaks to like the connection, though. Like you said, like there's other losses that were hard, but hard in a different way. Like, I feel like the difference is the connection with each loss, because this one is so much harder. I mean, that just speaks to the connection that you guys had.
Right.
I think that's the difference with each loss. Like, each loss is going to be different because of a lot of things, like who you are, where you're at in life. Like, right. Every time you've lost somebody, you've been a different person because we're all different. We're all changing, evolving our life experiences, but then who that person is to you. Right. Is really what makes it different.
And I think part of it that's so hard too is like everyone is taking this loss mm-hmm. hard. And like I said before, he cultivated this tribe of people. Like, there are people that I've spoke to once that are texting me and like, are you okay? And I'm like, fuck, you're a good person. Like, it would have never even occurred to me to try to get somebody's number and see if they're okay. I mean, I sent some Facebook messages out and stuff, and I've maintained contact with people, but like, I had one guy, he texted me. He didn't have my number. I don't know how he got it.
Wow.
And I'm just like, that's fucking great, man. Like what a good person. And that's why, like, I really hope that I get to speak at his celebration of life, not to talk about like how important he was to me, but like how important all those people were to him, because he's like a fucking museum director that curated all these good people present company excluded, and brought them together, you know, so that they could continue. I'm still texting back and forth with people from out there and setting up to go get tea or go have dinner with people I never knew before September, because he put all of us in each other's orbit. And that was what he did for this show. It was like, he was the person who could go, I know good people that are interesting and want to talk about interesting things that we can then share with other people so that they can feel like they're not fucking alone. And so without him, it's tougher for me because I'm the one who makes the poop jokes in the show. You know, I'm the one who makes people laugh so that they're not uncomfortable being recorded. Mm-hmm. Tony was the one who would ask poignant questions about raising children and all this. So it's like he knew what everyone's strength was and would even come up with their topics, you know, like, hey, I want to bring these two guys on, have them talk about being fathers, or I want to bring these two guys on, have them talk about Dungeons and Dragons, you know, like just this shit that like, so all of the people were so important to him because he had a different connection with each one of them, and they were all such good people or they won't be there.
Wow.
You know,
that's pretty powerful.
And like, I think they need to know that, because I think, and maybe it's just for me and in the way that that I'm dealing with this particular grief, I think it's just as important that people know that they're going to be okay. I mean, we all know he's going to be okay. I mean, the universe just got real weird. Like, the universe is exhausted right now. I guarantee you, because dealing with his bullshit and his puns and his stupid fucking jokes and constantly ball busting, like, is, even for an entire universe, has got to be exhausting. But he's going to be okay. I think part of grief is not knowing whether you're going to be okay. A funeral is not about the person who died. It has nothing to do with them.
No.
A celebration of life, I think, is, which is why I'm glad we're doing it that way. But still, the people there need to know that they're going to be okay, and myself included. Like, I mean, on the surface, I know I'm going to be okay. But like, Ellie still cries every time I say his name. It's so fucking dumb and hard and unfair. Like, now I'm going back to the same well again, but like,
well, it changes the dynamic too when there's kids involved, you know, like his kids and then your kids, like having that, trying to be that person for them.
Well, it's like, I've known his kids since they were babies, you know, like I've now seen his oldest daughter zooming around on her scooter, almost fucking killing people when we're going to lunch. And now the last time I went out there, his youngest daughter, who is Ellie's age, is on her bicycle, almost running people down on the sidewalk. The same exact thing, two completely different kids, but like, it's like, those are two memories I'll always have, because it's like, oh my God, it's like I fucking time traveled. We're doing this again. Your kids are going to kill somebody, you know, like, but it's an endearing moment to me, because I'm like, look, they're clearly raised by the same people. Like, they're sharing another moment. It's just fucking wild, man. Like, I'm glad that you're going to be the first show back, because I think that's important, that there's a transition from what we were doing to what I'm hoping we're still going to continue to be doing. Like, I don't want the show to change. I don't want it to change at all. That's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Don't set yourself up for that standard, because that's not fair to you either.
Okay.
I hear some like imposter syndrome-y things when you're talking. Like, I don't know Tony, so I was never a part of his life or met him, but I think that you bring conversation too. Like, I think you are underselling yourself a little bit when you say that stuff. But it's different. It's not the same dynamic.
Right. I appreciate that. And like, I thank you for saying that, because it does mean a lot to me.
And I have no poker face. So if I didn't mean it, you'd be like, shut the fuck up.
No, I trust you. I trust you. But you know, for me, it's like, I always wanted to be him. You know what I mean? Like, that was my sights were set on, like, that is a guy who's doing what he wants to do. Sometimes he was successful, sometimes he wasn't. He always took it with grace and dignity, and he was a good dad. I was at his house in September, and it was so fucking quiet. And I'm like
his kids were quiet?
Yeah, I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong with your kids?
What was he slipping in the water?
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it is so quiet here. What's wrong? He's like, it's always like that here. But they just have that stable home, stable upbringing, stable parents. Like, they don't scream at each other. I'm not saying they don't have disagreements, but they handle things appropriately. Like watching him, I'm doing douche quotes right now, discipline his kids was simply a conversation with them. And it's like, fuck, I want to be that guy, you know? And when he was here, I always had his guidance. Like I could ask him questions, or at least I could just watch him model the behavior. I don't get to have that anymore. So while there's some imposter syndrome, yeah, but some of it is also like, I am not there. Like I'm not there. Like I'm not the guy I wanted to be, the guy who was setting an example for me. Like he's not here anymore. So like, it's like, now where do I look for that guidance, for that, you know? And I've always felt like I wasn't good enough to do this. He was the one who was telling me I was, you know, like, so it's, and it sounds like a lot of like, woe is me, poor me shit, but it's really like, but it's like, it's such a weird transition for me to make just because, what is the word I'm looking for? I aspired to be more like him. He made me a better person. Like I remember sitting on his couch at his old house in like must have been like 2016. Cause I think Jenny was pregnant with Hattie, and at their old house, which was almost identical to the house they live in now. It's insane. We're sitting in the family room on the couch. It's like 2 a.m. and we're having a discussion about gun control.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a 2 a.m. conversation.
Yeah, and it was. And I had very strong opinions about, look, responsible gun owners and can't make new rules and blah, 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 blah. And he was just like, what is wrong with you? You are too smart to feel this way. Listen to me. Like this, and this. Completely changed. People can't do that with me.
No.
Completely changed my outlook on it. It's like, yeah, something's got to change. Like, we can't keep saying, like, it's not the gun, it's a person. Like, okay, yeah, but that person without that gun can't fucking kill 22 kids. You know, but I couldn't get my head wrapped around it until my big brother sits me down and goes, hey, stupid. Like, you know that what you're saying is bullshit, right? Like, you know that you're just trying to defend a thing because you think you're supposed to. Like, and I was like, shit.
That's pretty powerful because people can't change your mind.
No.
On anything.
No.
I feel like I have tried on several topics been unsuccessful.
I think you've been a lot more successful than you know. I think.
But that speaks to your guys' relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
Huge. Like because like in the moment to recognize that.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, it didn't happen in the moment.
Oh, okay.
No. It took a little like I had to digest it. I had to digest it, but it happened pretty quickly thereafter. Wow. Like, I mean, like, I'm not going to give him too much credit. All right. Okay, I'm not going to be like, he was like, change a kiss, mind a kiss, and then it was done. No. That didn't happen. But it did happen. Yeah, it 100% did happen. It was because of the conversation I had with him. And where I would always get on him, though, is like on the internet, he would argue with people. I was like, dude, fucking stop. Like, you're not going to change their mind. Granted, you did change my mind, but you're on the internet right now. You're exhausting yourself. This guy's a total asshole. This guy is like, maybe some kids gotta die for us to keep our liberties. And you're like, what the fuck? Yikes. What the fucking fuck? You know, like, but those, I mean, he's originally from a small town. So like, there's some small town mentalities on Facebook that would bleed over. Whatever. That's a story for another day. But anyway. So yeah, so it's having the aspiration, and I can still, I guess, have those aspirations, but like the guidance isn't there anymore to get me there. You know, like every time I would fuck something up, he would be the first person that I would text, be like, "Would you believe what I just fucking did?" You know, and I don't have that anymore. I don't have he was the most reasonable person in my life, aside from my wife, and she just is overhearing about it sometimes. So like, he could talk me down pretty easily and just be like, dude, it's not that big of a fucking deal. Like you'll fix it. Like whatever.
Sounds like he had faith though in your abilities. Like I think that's pretty big too. Like
I like to think so.
He did. Yeah. I don't know him. I never met him, but otherwise he wouldn't have done this with you. Right.
I think so. Yeah. I think. Yeah. And I think it was going to continue, you know, I mean, like we had a plan, you know, and like we weren't stupid, like we wanted to make money with it, you know, like that's
that's natural.
Yeah. It hasn't in any way, shape, or form.
Though. Yeah. It's fresh.
Yeah. So, but at the same, like we had a plan, and he convinced me to do things that I had never done before, like to take a risk, to spend money, to, you know, fly out there, to like, I mean, like all these things that I would have never done, because then I could blame it on the fact that I hadn't done that. You know, like I'd be like, well, this would have been successful, but I didn't fly out to LA, like, because that would have been dumb. That would have been irresponsible. Now, if this fails, before I could just be like, it was just a failure. And now I'd be like, it would have been fine if he was here. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's a different layer of pressure.
Yeah. So, I mean, but he got me to do, and I'm thankful for that. I really am. I'm thankful that I got to see him in September. I'm thankful that every time we said goodbye, we told each other we loved each other. Like, I'm thankful that I don't have any regrets as far as the way that we interacted. I don't have to regret any of that. And it has taught me how I should treat other people in my life, because who fucking knows?
Yeah.
You know, like, who fucking knows? And I had a conversation with another guy from college. He lost 2 people in the last year, and he just reached out to me. He's like, I miss you, dude. Like, we saw each other. I was with Tony when we drove cross country, and I stopped in Colorado and saw this guy I hadn't seen in 20 years, you know, and he's like, I miss you. We need to get together, and we need to figure out some way to hang out every so often. And hearing that from this guy who was like, not an emotional person. I mean, I take that back. He'd get really emotional about like getting down on himself and stuff and being frustrated. But like, as far as, I don't want to miss out on any more life. I don't want to miss out on any more people. I lost these 2 people. I'm thinking of the people that are important to me. And I'm thinking of you as like, fuck, you know, like fuck, you know? But then after this happens, and then I lost the second guy, I texted him right away. I was like, I get it now. I get it. I'll see you in May or June. I'm flying to Colorado and going hiking, and I'm going to fucking see him, you know? So it's like, fuck, grief fucking sucks, man.
It's like a perspective shifter, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's, especially when it's a big loss, I think sometimes people get stuck in the thought process of like, I want to get back to how I felt before. And I just don't know that that's like realistic. Right. Like, it feels like there's before and after, and that's okay. Like, it's just because it was that big of a connection that you had with that person.
But like, his kids are going to be okay, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be different. Like, I think they're going to have it's not going to be back to how it was before.
Right.
Like, I don't think that's fair to hold them to that standard, or for them to hold them to themselves to that standard of like, I want to feel how I did before Dad died. Like, I just don't think that that's fair. This is a new phase of their life, you know?
Right. Like, and I feel like I could sit here for the next, I mean, we've already been talking for almost 2 hours. Like, I feel like I could sit here for the next, like, 6 hours and be like, and why did it have to happen at Christmas? And why did this? And why did that? But it's like, I feel like if you go down that rabbit hole, then it just turns into like, the universe is unfair party. And then you're just going to blame everything for making it worse. And it's like,
but you have to feel that anger too.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's part of it. Like, of course it's okay to be mad. It's not fair. It sucks. It fucking sucks. Right. But no matter what the circumstance was, you could go down that rabbit hole all day. You know, even if it wasn't around the holidays, it'd be like, well, why was it a nice day today when this happened?
Right. Why do I have to remember it? My grandma died on St. Patrick's Day, and so I don't do St. Patrick's Day. Like, it's just like, it's also a stupid holiday. Like, it's just like, amateurs. You know?
We'll agree to disagree. It's one of my favorite times of year.
But it's like, I can get blackout drunk in my basement, as evidenced by a couple weeks ago.
But it's like acceptable in public that day.
Yeah,
so.
I suppose. Yeah. So it's just, it is what it is. I hope that this conversation about grief, I hope it helps people. Like, I hope it does justice what Reagan wanted us to discuss. I hope it wasn't just too much me saying how sad I am.
I don't think that at all. And I'm here living it, so I would have cut you off and like, okay.
I mean, he has a fucking snot rocket hanging out of his knees, but other than that, he's in pretty good shape, folks. I think that snot's more about other people than it is about him. It's probably not. But
I thought closure. I thought that was an interesting like word that you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like something with grief people really like look for a lot, is just like, how do I find this closure? And I think that looks really different for everybody too. Yeah. So I feel like that's an important takeaway with grief, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just like that closure is going to come differently for everybody.
And does it, I mean, like, and this is obviously could very easily be a question you can't answer, but like, does it have to come? Can you leave a grief situation without closure and still be healthy?
I think so, because what does closure even mean? Like, I don't think it's ever going to be like, oh, this never happened and I'm fine. Right. You know, I think what's healthy with grief is letting whatever your emotions be what they are, experiencing them, feeling them, And however you have to process that in a healthy way that isn't self-destructive or not processing it, great. And grief isn't like a linear progression. So it's not like, oh, I have closure, this book is closed, and I'm fine forever. Like, no, there's always going to be triggers or things that bring back those memories. But I think, again, that just speaks to the connection. Like, because that connection was so deep is why those memories are always going to be there.
Well, and I think it's important, too, that people understand that anyone who tells you how you should be feeling is not somebody...
You better run.
Yeah, like, that was a conversation his wife and I had very early before he died, while he was still in the hospital and not awake. Because, I don't want to... it's not my story to share, but, like, one thing I did tell her was, like, look... No matter what decision you make, we all support you. And anybody who questions any decision that you make, one, doesn't know you, because clearly you're doing it for what you are sure or at least believe to be the right reasons. And you don't need those people in your life. Mm-hmm. Like, if they're going to question the decisions you're making about the husband that you clearly fucking love, the father of your kids that is a good dad, and that if they're questioning your decision making, they don't know you. And like, you should be able to feel however the fuck you want to feel.
Especially in those pivotal moments of your life that are like the hardest times. You need the people around you that, just that unconditional support. It's
it's already unfair enough that you have to make the decision of when this thing ends. You shouldn't
have to justify it.
No, shouldn't allow people to decide whether you made the right decision. Whatever decision she made, we were all going to support her. And I think that his friends are continuing. The Felds have done such a fucking admirable job. They've just been such great friends to them. They've been there. They were there the day, they were there when Tony died. They were there Christmas Day, sitting around having laughs and having fun and trying to keep things as normal as they could be, and they're just such good people. I told David, I was like, I think I told him, and if I haven't told him, he'll probably hear it here, that I envied the fact that he lived a mile away from Tony, that they got to see each other, because I had talked about, like, whenever something important happened, I would text him, and David was like, well, I didn't have that relationship with him. I was here. So, like, every time something important happened, we were together, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, fuck you. But I know David. David's a good person, and I like him. He's become a close friend. So I'm just like, I envy that. I envy that he had all those years, and I had visits. He had years. Like, and I envy that because it is fulfilling, So, but, there are a lot of people, they have a great support system. Somebody asked me if I was going out when it happened. I was like, no, that's not how I choose to remember him, and two, they have support. Like, they have people, good people around them. Yeah, it was really, really was. Just really good people that stepped up and did what they could do to make it a less shitty situation. It's like, they don't need me out there. Would they have appreciated me? Yeah, they would have 100%, but like, they didn't need it. And I needed to save it for when I needed to go out, and I need to be there for this. So I don't feel good. My tummy hurts.
I have that effect on people. I do that sometimes.
But I just felt it was important to bring up this conversation, not to abuse your friendship. And
I'm not a grief expert. I prefaced with that before I even came here.
But you do have an understanding, and you have insight, even like...
I feel like I can just hold space for that too. Yeah. Like, that's something I do feel like I can say I do well. It's like, whatever is going on.
Yeah.
We can sit in it together.
Yeah. Well, and you've always been really good at letting me, like, talk things out and, like, figure things out, like, when we're talking about something frustrating, and allow me to go, oh, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should maybe that means this, like, which is probably why you're good at your job, because a lot of times people solve their own problems. That
should be the goal of any mental health professional. Yeah. Like, I'm not in the profession of giving advice most of the time, unless I'm like, well, that's gonna really hurt you.
Maybe stop the cocaine.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't even say that usually.
But maybe it would help a little bit.
Maybe let's just cut back.
Yeah. Halvesies. Yeah. Halvesies.
Harm reduction.
Oh, God. But thank you so much, even if it got a little heavy. Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah,
I was ready.
I knew you were gonna fall apart. But I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So, and I think it gives people some insight into what you do, and what you do is important. So thank you.
I'm so glad. Glad we made it happen.
Me too.
I showed up.
Okay.
Yay.
All right. Love you.
Okay, bye.
Tony Forsmark.